Under the same roof, we share the love. Embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. And now do we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. Now we stand in love's pure might.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We have quite the show tonight. Tonight's going to be a long show. Hopefully, for those of you who get a chance to tune in live, well, welcome in. We're going to have a good time. It's not the best subject in the world, but I think we're going to have a great discussion. For those of you who are tuning in on the playback, make sure you hype up the video, show some love to your brother indeed. And I want to thank you guys for all the people who have been putting up with me with all my travels. I went to Turkey. I came back. I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, came back. Immediately after that, I went to Egypt, came back, and then I went to Florida. So, thank you for all the individuals that have been tuning in with me. But now I'm more consistent. I'm here, not a lot of traveling. The only traveling that I have coming up is going to be Chris Brown's trial. I have to go to Little Dirk's trial that's out west in California. And also, I believe I will be going to Mississippi in regards to Nolan Wells. So just a little bit, but that's not like going to Egypt and walking around for 2 weeks. Tonight, we're going to get into this whole ordeal with Nolan Wells. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe to the channel. Tonight, we're going to do something quite different. Sometimes I have these big debates with people trying to help them to understand whether a case is nefarious or not. But tonight we're going to do it different. We're going to go back in time. We're going to look at some of the first statements in regards to Nolan Wells. And then we're going to end the show today we're going to actually go through the entire autopsy debacle that they had today out in Chicago. Now, what I want you guys to keep in mind, right? I'm not trying to make a point. I'm just telling you something that I observed. Imagine in this case, Nolan's parents have been flown. They've gone to New York for a press conference. You had a chance to hear from them there. Also at the funeral back in Mississippi, you've heard from his family there. Now, today, you see his family. They went out to Chicago, and we had a chance to hear from his family there. So I'm just making a note that his family is doing quite the tour. We haven't seen this before in regards to any case. I find it when you're talking about putting eyes and ears on a case, I would say this is champagne. We haven't seen it at this level before. Not in a negative light, but just something that we haven't seen. They've been to New York. They've been in Chicago. So this is intriguing. Today, we're going to get started off. Remember, a lot of people don't realize, right? Because I want you guys to take notes. Today, instead of me trying to make points anymore, if you don't mind, take out a white sheet of paper. I know you're going to get tired of hearing me say that. Take out a white sheet of paper, and we're going to actually take notes. I want you to compare what the guys who showed up and found Nolan's body, what they're saying in connection to what Ben Crump has to say and what the sheriff has to say. That's the way we need to approach these cases. Now, it's going to take some time. We may take 3 hours tonight, but listen, I'm here for it. We're going to get through it. If you don't want to watch it now, maybe you could watch it later. But we're going to start off. A lot of people don't realize that the Cajun Navy were very instrumental in trying to help search for Nolan. Quite a few people don't realize this. What I want you guys to pay attention, we have two things at the same time that exist. On the left-hand side, we have Nolan's parents. They're working with the Cajun Navy. This is just observations. I'm not giving you an angle, but I'm trying to help you guys to understand the case, right? So on the left-hand side, the parents are working with the Cajun Navy. On their platforms and on their side of the people that they really talked with and people in their synergy, they expressed the narrative that, from what I can gather, it was an accidental drowning. Okay. Now, keep in mind when I show you the video, the Cajun Navy guy is going to say, listen, Nolan's mother called me to go to the coroner's office. Okay. So she's calling this guy, right? And this is not negative. I'm just pointing it out. I want you guys who really work with this channel, I want you to really see what I see. Maybe you'll understand my position. Okay. So the people that she asked to go with her to the coroner, they're really expressing this is not nefarious. These boys didn't do anything wrong, okay? But sometimes in the same day, the mother would then go with Benjamin Crump, and we get a different approach to the case. So we have two extremes happening at the same time, but the parents are a part of both sides. I want you to just keep this in mind as we go through a lot of information today. We're going to get started now. I'm going to pause at certain places just to help point out different things. I don't want to push my narrative, but I want you guys to come to your own conclusion about what might be happening in regards to some of these cases. Let's get started. This is the first guys here that were involved in finding Nolan. We're going way back to the beginning, and then we're going to bring it all the way till today. You're actually going to see some contradictions. In fact, today, and I'm not being negative, I'm just pointing out. Benjamin Crump, he made a strong point today at the autopsy reading that Nolan was found and his body was fully clothed. Are you guys with me? His body was fully clothed. And so then you start to wonder, well, wait a minute. We see videos, Nolan is in his shorts. So you mean to tell me he put his clothes on and then went swimming again and he drowned? Okay. All right. That's a viable question, right? But then these same guys I'm going to show you, they came back and they corrected him. And they're saying, no, that's not what we said. In fact, I'm going to show you what the guy said himself. But he actually expresses that Nolan only had on his same shorts when he was seen lying with his face down in the water, drowned. Okay, so I'm just helping you guys to go back in time. But as we take notes, remember, because tomorrow night we're going to do another deep dive, and I'm going to show you, we're going to look at the press conferences, and now we're going to put this whole thing together. So let's get started. Thank you. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe as we go through this information. It's very important. Thank you.
You can go out there and deliver those services. Welcome to Shrimp Boots, the official podcast of the United Cajun Navy, which started out as a routine search and rescue.
These are the guys that found Nolan, so pay attention to the details they're saying. If you want the truth and you want to get an idea of what's happening with this case, I'm going to show you the way. Let's check it out.
Rescue call turned into a national news story and the unfortunate death of an 18-year-old football star in South Mississippi. So Josh, July 4th, we think we have the day off, but we get a call, young man's missing off of Horn Island.
So again, this happened on July the 4th, right?
In Mississippi. You eventually got in touch with the mother. Let's take it from the top.
Absolutely. So July 4th, right? Everybody's out there doing their thing. You know, I live out on the river, so I know what to expect sometimes when people party on that river. Start getting phone calls, frantic messages on social media, help, help.
By the way, comic poet, that's exactly my point, that they were able to make the correction. All right, let's get to it.
Help, you know, my cousin, my friend, and then, you know, I dig into it a little bit, give yourself and Todd a call, said, hey, we got a hot one. Reach out to the mother reaches out to me.
Okay, so the mother, it's very important that you know this. The mother reached out to the Cajun Navy the same day that Nolan went missing, right? This is a rare occurrence. A lot of people don't even know about the Cajun Navy, but in this case, she reached out.
And it was bad. It was, you know, your gut just drops.
Yeah.
So got that phone call, had some communication with mom, started asking her the tough questions,
Yeah.
you know, and unfortunately sometimes those questions are, they're not nice or friendly. And I told her, you know, from the beginning.
Pay attention to the questions and the answers.
Hey, I'm going to ask you.
In fact, I want you guys to write it down.
Some stuff about your son. I just need the truth because it helps us, you know, find out what's truly going on. And it's, you know, 18 years old. Has he been drinking? Do you know if he's drinking or the previous day? And yes, but I also asked her a question that
Okay, so according to him, the mother said that Nolan was drinking. Very important that you note that.
was very interesting. I asked her if he could swim. And yes, he had taken swimming lessons as a child.
Yeah.
Extremely athletic.
Could he swim? Could he swim? Yes, you need to write that down. Note that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
6'1", 180 pounds, good shape, playing junior college football.
He's 6'1", 180 pounds. I want you to really process that thought. And when it comes to, that's going to be very important when we hear about how his body was discovered. So he's 6'1", 180 pounds. Remember that. Note that.
Was in the middle of training. Matter of fact, there was some talk about how he wanted to kind of take it easy because he had a Monday morning workout he wanted to be fresh for and all that kind of stuff.
It's a shame. Every story.
So Nolan was anticipating Monday morning. He had excitement on the way, right? That's a key point.
Story that I've heard about this young man was good.
Yeah, he's a rock star.
Absolutely.
Tons of friends, tons of everybody in the community knew him. I got a lot of people I personally know from that part of the coast who had children his age. They'd known him since they were little, talked about how bubbly and kind he was. And it's like, man, to know this kid's a love him, please find him. And okay, we're going to do our best.
Absolute stud on the football field.
Yeah. Quarterback
just,
in high school, wide receiver for college, right? So just
played
all-around athlete.
D2, I think that's played Division II.
Southwest, yeah.
But with some aspirations and some potential of being a D1 athlete.
Yeah,
right?
Transfer up.
Yeah. And again, it's hearing these stories just about the kid, about, Nolan. There was one story in particular that, really said a lot about the person that he was. A good Samaritan, and really had a good heart. At one point in school, there was, what I like to call an exceptional child with some learning disabilities. And Nolan had everybody in the class not raise their hand, so this kid could raise his hand and answer the question, right? So it's just a feel-good thing, and it makes me learn a lot about the person and then about the crowd he hangs out with.
Right.
Doesn't take away from the mission.
So in a way, this is reminiscent to Carmelo Anthony, how the family came up with one of the stories about how he saved the girl's life. So in this case of Nolan, you hear about some of the great deeds that he did, right?
Actually adds to the mission. So again, got the phone call from the mother. We put action into play really.
Two very different cases. I want to make that clear for some people that'll run with the narrative, but it's just reminiscent. We hear the good story.
Really quick. You were there.
Yeah,
you were on the coast.
We'll just go with the timeline, talk about the call on 4th of July. That was Saturday night. By Sunday morning, there was kind of no new news, and we had a couple of our...
So, for those of you who might be new to this case, make sure you write down that the call came in. They were reached out to on the Saturday, 4th of July in the evening.
Mississippi chapter volunteers reach out, say, hey, I got a boat, I got a drone. They went out there, they canvassed the island, they physically went on the island, flew the drone, ran a grid with their boat, put the drone up, looking in the water, looking over land. Even went to the center of the island where they had the lagoons and stuff. They sent me pictures saying, hey, look, there's cat.
So I want to stop here and tell you guys, this is very important, right? They didn't just walk on the island looking for Nolan on Sunday. You heard what he said? They did a grid. So in other words, they really covered square by square, not only the water, but they searched the island quite well. Okay, that's going to be very important when you hear about what happens the next day on Monday when Nolan pops up. Pretty much people are like, how did he show up here? Okay, so let's make sure we understand that on Saturday, they're thoroughly looking on the island and throughout the water for Nolan.
There's thorny brush. There's no way he walked over here barefoot and fell in the lagoon. And so they spent the better part of the day out there, called it quits when the weather picked up, and that's when we huddled that night and decided, hey, it's time to go to the air. So we decided to put a bird up on.
So they really exasperated the land and the sea, right? I showed you guys about 5 days ago the GPS, how the boat took the route. So those of you who were there here, maybe at that time, you get an idea of the layout. And I even showed you guys the island by means of video. So all of this now we can put it together. But this is Sunday. They're searching for Nolan, land and sea thoroughly. No Nolan, right? Notice what happens on Monday.
On Monday morning, July 6th.
Yep. So
And,
we had, so it was a donated bird, actually.
Yeah.
Donated fixed
Another
wing.
volunteer reached out and said, "Hey, I got a plane in Gulfport. Happy to go fly." I'm like,
Nice to have you here, Cozy Bella. Welcome in. Please think about subscribing to the channel. Shout out to Matt. Thank you to Comic Poet and so many people that are here today. Thank you. Shout out to Stella.
"Yep, that's you speaking my language." So we met up at First Light.
Wait, let's talk about this plane, because I was going to go too. And
Technum?
it said experimental aircraft. So,
So,
dude.
So just to wrap this up a little bit so they searched for Nolan all day Sunday. The sea, they checked out the island, no Nolan. So they say, hey, listen, we have to take this to the air. Let's work on Monday morning putting an airplane in the sky so we can get a better view and hopefully find Nolan.
I don't need that.
For those of you that don't know, experimental, the classification of experimental is either experimental or...
And this is the real first reporting that we really get. These are the guys that actually were there searching for Nolan. These are the guys that the mother was actually reaching out to, trying to find her son. Okay, so it's very important that we process what they're saying.
Certified. Certified is the FAA designation that it's like a manufacturer that the FAA knows well. They know everything about the plane, but if you want to have worked on it, you have to have an A&P, an actual aircraft mechanic, and everything has to be logged. Experimental just means that you're allowed to work on it yourself. And a lot of times experimental planes, some people, like you hear about people buying a kit plane, putting together themselves, and then they can work on. So the point is that experimental doesn't mean we don't know if this thing's going to fly or not. It just means.
So this is the Cajun Navy. They're explaining how they were able to get some volunteers that are willing to help them get into the air on an airplane and look for Nolan.
Means that you can experiment with it. You can enhance it, all that. You don't have to log everything and get permission from the FAA. So having known that, I was not at all concerned about. And the Technum, the Technum 2008, and there's several models of the Technum. They just came out with a new 4-seater that looks pretty badass, but it's got a Rotax 912. Those engines go into a lot of newer planes. They're very fuel efficient. They run really well. I wasn't worried about it at all. And they cruise at about 130, 140 miles an hour. No, we weren't going that fast, but just,
Right.
I didn't mean to turn this into a plane show, but anyway. So
You were starting to remind me of the guy who put a third of a tank of jet fuel in his little Kia and hit 135. Right, that's all the rage now on Facebook.
Right? Yeah. Let those challenges keep happening. Shrimp Boots, the official podcast of the United Cajun Navy, is brought to you by Cajun Navy Rum and our friends at Red Reed Spirits. The United Cajun Navy distilled right here to the folks at July Monday morning.
Daylight.
Wheels up about 6:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And we decided that we were going to fly.
So Monday at 6:30 a.m., this is where we're picking up now. Still no Nolan. They're still searching for him, but they're trying the airway.
Fly south, got clearance on runway 14, so we're already facing that way toward Horn Island. We go over Horn Island, all the way south to Chandelier. We start, traversing back and forth, over towards the northeast corner of Ship Island, and then we're looking at the northwest corner of Horn Island, which was the last place that Nolan was seen by an eyewitness. So we're flying for a couple hours, and we start making one of our tracks back north. Notice a couple of boats on the beach that weren't there before. We descended. We started circling. We could see that there was a...
Thank you, Cozy Bella, for becoming a member. I really do appreciate you.
And there was more boats coming in, in a line. And they were obviously law enforcement boats or Coast Guard or whatever. They were official vessels. And they were starting to set up a command post on the beach. And we figured something was going on, something was found. And then we get the call. I get the call from you or the text from you that said, hey, they think they found them. And so we did an RTB. And then so I get back kind of flip it back over to you. You're in Ocean Springs with Nolan's mom.
So I was at the boat.
From there.
So I was at the boat.
This
launch.
is Monday
morning.
mid-morning.
9:00.
Yeah.
9:15, somewhere in there. So I got the call. Obviously,
So they started off at 6:30. By 9:15, Nolan has been discovered.
we were coordinating with the local law enforcement, Jackson County, Mississippi Sheriff's Office. And great to work with.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I got the call initially from Nolan's mother, as well as some of the families, that they felt that more could be done. Right? They personally felt, and this is with every family or every person that's missing, hey, we want everything.
So it's very important to note that on July the 4th, Saturday, the mother and some other people are reaching out to them in regards to where's Nolan? This is what happened. And even on Monday morning, he's saying the mother is reaching out to him.
Out there, and
Right.
obviously we do that.
Thank you, Cozy Bella, for the 1,000 gems. I think it's the first time on this channel. Thank you.
That first day, that Sunday, we had 4 boats, 2 drones, multiple people on the ground. Our seaplanes were on standby as well. But after the island was clear, there was really no use for a seaplane,
Right.
just based on a float plane, we'll call it, right?
Guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe. Thank you.
So yeah, I get the call from the Sheriff's Department, and I'm almost to the Lake Mars boat launch, where the ICP was, and I found out before the mother. They
And
called me.
ICP, Incident Command Post.
Incident
just for
Command Post,
everybody
right?
that doesn't-
The sheriff.
Everybody knows our acronym. RTB means return to base, by the way. I said that earlier.
We need an acronym, Joe. You put a buck
do.
in every time you use it.
Yeah.
Okay, so he actually finds out before the mother.
So I get the phone call from the sheriff. Then the mother calls me. Immediately after, sheriff calls me. He calls the mom. Mom calls me. And I asked her, she was obviously got the news.
Yeah.
I asked her where she was. She was about 10 minutes out. So I'm at the ICP right there at the boat launch, literally just starting to meditate for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew what was coming. Mother and father get there. And this is one of those stories that'll get you. Car pulls up. I see them coming. They're white Volkswagen, whatever.
Yeah.
And mom gets out and runs to me. I mean, literally runs to me 15 yards, gives me the biggest hug ever, in tears, and collapses in my arms.
It's got to be a devastating moment.
It's one of those moments I won't forget. And it's a driving moment, right? From there, we literally sat on the ground, Brian. It was interesting. They offered the command post, the command vehicle for us to go sit in the air conditioning. And
For those of you that are just coming in, we're going to cover the autopsy report today by Benjamin Crump and the others. But before we get to that, we're setting the stage by going back in time, and we're actually gleaning some of the details that occurred along the way. This is the earliest point, I believe, of the individuals who were instrumental in finding Nolan. They were a part, the mother was actually reaching out to them. We're going to work our way up until today. And then tomorrow, we're going to go through all of the press conferences. Let's get to it.
I'm on the ground. She's on the ground. She's crying. I got my arm around her. Nolan's father was there. And it was just one of those surreal moments where,
Sure.
we're all saying a prayer, and we know that that's the beginning of some really hard times.
The worst day. Meet people on their worst
Yeah.
day.
Absolutely.
Happens.
So a lot of times people ask me how I do it, right? Or how we do it as a team when we find cadavers or people who are unalived. That doesn't bother me. Those moments where it's the family.
The people that are still alive. That's what gets you.
that's what gets me.
Yeah.
So from there, Sheriff's Department, the people were starting to gather, right? People were gathering up. They were letting them through. Family, large family, great people. So they actually moved his remains to another location, so they could offload and get him where he needed to go.
Did they helicopter him out, or did they put him on a boat? Because when I got back to Gulfport Airport, I saw the medevac spinning up, and I thought maybe.
What's interesting about this so far is that Nolan is discovered pretty much where some of the young men basically said he was last seen. And I think this is what has a lot of people up in arms trying to figure out, well, we understand, let's say if he did drown, how did he, they remember now they searched Sunday. They did not discover him, right? Basically, he wasn't where they found him on Monday. He couldn't have been there on Sunday because they searched it thoroughly. So that's why people are saying, well, how did his body go out to stream and then come back to pretty much the same place where they're saying he was last seen? These are very good questions, and everybody wants to know.
Could have been going on a routine call for the hospital, but I thought maybe they were going out to the island. I didn't watch them depart, so I don't know which way they went.
I have no clue because we ended up going I went to the coroner's office.
Yeah.
The mother asked me to be a part of that.
So this is the key part right here. The mother is asking them to go with her, or at least this gentleman here, to the coroner's office. Okay, so keep that in mind.
And I've been with the family throughout a lot of the steps,
Right.
which it makes me feel good. Great people, but they have got a path ahead of them.
They do.
Right.
And speaking of that, like, so you have the whole, he's missing. Okay, now we know for a fact that he did not survive. We do have his remains, though. But now we start getting into the controversial moment.
Oh, my God.
The story is that, as we've been told, it's been repeated a lot now in the media, that Nolan went out to Horn Island on a boat with some of his longtime friends. They get out there around 3 o'clock. The operator of the boat notices that it's taking.
Okay, so this is where you need to write down points, right? I told you we're going to do this, right? 3 o'clock, okay? These are the first individuals really involved. And notice the time frame, because when we look at the GPS is giving us the hard times when the boat leaves. He's saying that the young men are saying that this happened at 3 o'clock. So we're going to go back, but I want you to document this because we're going to put all of this together. It's going to take some time, but I'm here for it. Are you?
He's missing. Okay, now we know for a fact that he did not survive. We do have his remains, though. But now we start getting into the controversial moment.
Oh, my God.
The story is that, as we've been told, it's been repeated a lot now in the media, that Nolan went out to Horn Island on a boat with some of his longtime friends. They get out there around 3 o'clock. The operator of the boat notices that it's taking on water. The bilge's not working. He wants to take the boat back to the boat launch. They decide to pack up and leave.
Okay, so 3 o'clock, right? 3 o'clock, they're packing up to leave. They notice that the boat is taking on water, right? Now you have multiple individuals involved in this. So 3 o'clock, is this a number, a time that each of these individuals are remembering? Why is it 3 o'clock? Because remember, I showed you guys 5 days ago that actually this GPS, right? The GPS shows what time the boat left. It was at 4:31 p.m. Okay, so we do have some discrepancies here. All right, so just write down that time, 3 o'clock. You'll see why we're doing it this way, because sometimes people, they come up with their own ideas. They listen to so many channels, and then some people don't know the truth from what's fake. Well, we're going to give it to you straight. You get to go back and listen to people who are actually involved and put all of this together. And we're going to do it in a very judicious and intelligent manner.
Nolan is talking to some other friends at that point, says, no, I'm good. I'm going to hang back and I'll catch a ride with somebody else. His friends leave shortly after that, presumably. There's another report that another friend of his saw Nolan closer to 4 o'clock, still on the island, talking to a different group of friends.
Yep.
Didn't hear anything. I haven't heard any credible eyewitnesses who saw him after that.
So let's get this pinned down a bit here, because this is very important. So the captain of the boat realizes there's an issue. We got to get out of here. You have to come to your own discernment whether this sounds like a real story or not, but we're just noting different things. So everybody pretty much is saying, listen, we're going to get out of here except Nolan. The narrative, right? The narrative is that Nolan says, nah, you know what? I'm just going to hang out here. I know that this is tough. It's a lot of time. But guess what, guys? I have time tonight. So we're going to go back and listen to this again. But this time, when you take your notes, right? This is what I do in court. You guys get an idea. I want you to kind of envision what's happening here, because I already went over the GPS with you guys previously. Already we see discrepancies. Now, we're not imputing bad motives. We're not pointing fingers yet, but we're just putting the facts together so you can see if it makes sense. Let's go back again and spin it.
There, Sheriff's Department, the people were starting to gather, right? People were gathering up. They were letting them through. Family, large family, great people. So they actually moved his remains to another location, so they could offload and get him where he needed to go.
Did they helicopter him out, or did they put him on a boat? Because when I got back to Gulfport Airport, I saw the medevac spinning up, and I thought maybe could have been going on a routine call for the hospital, but I thought maybe they were going out to the island. I didn't watch them depart, so I don't know which way they went.
I have no clue, because we ended up going I went to the coroner's office.
These are the guys involved in what they tried to rescue, but ended up basically finding his body.
Yeah.
The mother asked me to be a part of that, and I've been with the family throughout a lot of the steps.
Right. Now, this is the part I really want you guys to focus on. We're going to have two tracks moving here. We have these gentlemen, which I think they do a great work, but I want you to not only factor in what they're saying, but I want you to capture the spirit of the law. I want you to note what is their position on the three guys that actually left. And I want you to see what these guys could potentially be telling the mother as far as if this was nefarious or if it was an accidental drowning. So you have these individuals, but at some point we're going to put in the Ben Crump and the Al Sharpton, and we're going to look at what they're saying about this whole event. And you're going to see that they're starkly different, okay? But it's very important that you see how each group is talking about the mother and the father, and also note what the father and the mother, how much credence they put into these individuals.
Which it makes me feel good. Great people, but they have got a path ahead of them.
They do. Right. And speaking of that, so you have the whole, he's missing. Okay, now we know for a fact that he did not survive. We do have his remains, though. But now we start getting into the controversial moment.
Oh, my God.
The story is that, as we've been told, it's been repeated a lot now in the media, that Nolan went out to Horn Island on a boat with some of his longtime friends. They get out there around 3 o'clock. The operator of the boat notices that it's taking on water. The bilge's not working. He wants to take the boat back to the boat launch. They decide to pack up and leave.
So I want you guys to note this. It's the operator of the boat that's encouraging them to leave. It's the person they came with, right? And there's a measure of responsibility in harmony with maritime law in regards to, we're not going to get into all of that, but it's very important that you recognize people, places, and things as you're taking your notes, so that when new information comes in, you can say, well, yeah, this doesn't make sense to me because such and such said this, or I heard this here, okay?
Talking to some other friends at that point, says, no, I'm good. I'm going to hang back and I'll catch a ride with somebody else. His friends leave shortly after that, presumably. There's another.
Okay, so this is coming from the Cajun Navy. There's no mention about a girl yet, right? What did he just say? Nolan said, I'll just catch a ride with somebody else, right? Does that make sense to you? That's all. We're not pointing fingers. We're just noting various points of interest when it comes to this case.
Report that another friend of his saw Nolan closer to 4 o'clock, still on the island, talking to a different group of friends.
Yep.
Didn't hear anything. I haven't heard any credible eyewitnesses who saw him after that. But that puts him on the island, presumably after his original friend group left. So now
Okay, so you hear what he just said? That puts him on the island after his original friend group left. Well, guess what? They didn't leave until 4:31, folks. There's something wrong, okay? All right. We already went through the GPS. The GPS tells us exactly when the boat left. It happened. See, that's the thing. When you get the facts, when people pull the GPS or they pull your cell phone records, it's hard for you to get around that, okay? So we've come up with 2 times here. 3 o'clock, the friends are saying, okay, they had to get out of Dodge, so to speak, because the captain is saying, hey, we got to get out of here. Somebody said they saw him closer to 4. Well, lo and behold, according to record, the boat did not leave at 3 o'clock. It left at 4:31. That's a whole hour and a half difference. Right now, We're just taking notes. Let's keep going.
We have the gap of from then, about 4 o'clock on July 4th, to when he went in the water, which we don't know. I'm assuming that was before dark, before all the boats left, and he did not make it back out of the water alive. So now you have the beast of the social media.
Oh my God!
Of people, clickbaiters and rage baiters, going out there and making up all kind of stories, and now you have these kids who.
That's true. We've seen a lot of stories get made up, and people are making up more stories in regards to the autopsy report, which we're going to get to that in probably within the next hour. So we get that, but that's the reason why we're going through this, trying to find the facts.
We're longtime friends of Nolan's who are getting death threats.
Absolutely.
It's compounding their already shock and grief over the loss of their friend. Probably feeling partially responsible, if not, just guilty anyway. Just like, man, I should have just made him get in the damn boat. So, man, we came here together. We're leaving together. It's bro code. And I'm not blaming the kids. I'm saying, if you're, especially if you're nervous about a boat taking on water, you're like, look, we got to go. You're grown, man. I can't make you come, but we're leaving. You got to make sure you get your way back. So that, and again, I'm not trying to make up facts or scenarios here. This is what we've been told so far. It's going to be thoroughly investigated. There's a lot of eyeballs on this. The story will come out. Hopefully some more consistent stories will come out that'll make a little more sense than the ones we've heard.
I've heard so much, and I'm gonna put it like this.
Yeah.
I've heard so much bullshit.
Yeah, there is a lot of bullshit out there.
Let me put it like this. Number one.
Okay, so this is the part where you really need to understand, right? Because again, I'm not trying to make this a race thing or anything like that. But what I'm saying is you have two different tracks, and the parents of Nolan is dealing with both of these tracks, and I'm only pointing out these two. So I want you to pay attention to what he's about to say and his whole position on, remember, they've coined this whole thing as the internet, right? Social media, okay? And that there's a lot of stories being made, okay? So the mother is kind of in between, and the father is in between this group and also the what I would call the Al Sharpton and the Crump group. Okay, so all of this information is being processed, but I want you to really understand how they're perhaps navigating through it by listening to both sides. We're going to do that.
To the people out there that are calling me a racist, I'm the farthest thing from a racist. Number one. I spent 18, 19 days walking the streets of North Baton Rouge looking for Jadarius Manyweather in what they call the worst part of Baton Rouge. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm a part of that family. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Farthest thing from a racist. So if anybody out there wants to call me the face for racism, on Facebook, get up from behind that keyboard and come say it to my face, because I'm fed up with that shit.
If you want to donate to the United Cajun Navy, you can use Visa, MasterCard, American Express to cover, but we don't take the race card, unfortunately.
Right.
So
right, exactly.
But, I always say we're not racist. We stereotype. It's a lot more efficient.
So,
we can be judgmental. Ain't no doubt about it. But that's human nature.
So here's my thing:
but races ain't it.
That card's.
So if you listen to them talk, right, they're helping you to understand that they're getting some pushback in regards to race, and they're just saying, listen, this is not what we're about. We don't choose the people that we help and we assist based on the color of their skin. That's the theme that you can kind of glean from what they're saying thus far.
Being played out there, right?
Yeah, and it's being played by people looking for likes and clicks,
right.
Trying to get,
the family, number one, they don't need it. Family doesn't need it. They've turned social media off. Good for them. We've discussed it, and she doesn't need it. The family doesn't need it.
Well, and then, of course, now.
Okay, so notice what he says. He says he's talked to the family. The family don't need it, okay? So you got to kind of understand what's being said here, and you have to be able to put it together with the other side information that we're going to look at with Ben Crump and Al Sharpton.
The family has retained Ben Crump, who's a well-known civil rights lawyer, and say what you want about him or the fact that they retained him. But what I will say about Crump is that whatever case he's affiliated with gets a lot of attention. And I believe this case should keep continuing a lot of attention. There's still answers that family deserves.
Whenever someone says but, you have to understand what's being implied, okay? I'm just going to go back a little bit. I'm not going to speak on it. but I want you to pay attention to what's being said. He says a lot here in this statement, okay? I want you to check it out.
Retained Ben Crump, who's a well-known civil rights lawyer, and say what you want about him or the fact that they retained him. But what I will say about Crump is that whatever case he's affiliated with gets a lot of attention. And I believe this case should keep continuing a lot of attention. There's still answers that family deserves. So I'm not begrudging of that. But one thing I will say that the statements that the family has put out, I think have met the moment. Yep. As far as the public and the community is concerned, like, let's wait. And I thought the statement the local NAACP put out over there was very responsible, saying, we're watching. We have eyeballs. We all know what our job is. We're watching this. We're not letting it go. But let's wait for the facts to come out. Let's not jump to conclusions, start accusing people of stuff. Thought it was a good job by them to not fan the flames. And so
I spoke to the mother today.
See, so they're promoting wait on the facts without trying to jump to conclusions about this case. Let's see where the facts lead us. It's very important. This is how they preside, or this is how they lead. Okay, pay attention.
Yeah, okay.
On our way to DC.
We're recording
on my way
this
here
on July. What's today? Thursday, July the 9th.
The 9th.
Yeah.
So I spoke to Mama today, and I speak to her every day.
Yeah.
Just to touch base with her. I've got.
Okay, so visibly you see more of the Ben Crump, right? But notice, I just want you to notice what he's saying. He speaks to the mother every day. Okay, and we also note his position. Their stance on it is more of a let's wait and see attitude.
3 calls, and
you got to work on that racism.
Right.
Yours.
Yeah. Oops. So I have 3 calls I make every day. Right. Chadarius's mom, Aquarius.
Yeah.
Whose son is still in the landfill.
Right.
Right. So a month later, we'll get into that one in the next show. I've got Miss Christine, whose son just passed away.
Right.
And then I've got another parent. I don't want to discuss it. I call them just to check on them to see how they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a racist, but anyway, so that bullshit that's coming out, and look, again, it's rage baiters.
All of this information is very important as we put all of this together. You'll see by the time we get through all of this, you'll understand this case at a higher level. Instead of just jumping to conclusions like most people just making up stuff, you'll be able to actually articulate various things about this case.
Race baiters, whatever you want to call it. Color, creed, sexual preference, religion, political party, I don't care. We don't care. We're going to look for whoever needs to be found, right?
Right.
So some of the stories that I've heard, let's talk about some of this
Well, it's
crazy
a good time
rumor.
to point out that United Cage Navy is an organization. We don't make anybody fill out an application in order to get rescued or to get help. No. We don't have any box checking. If you know how to use the internet or a phone, you can find us, and if we can help, we will.
Absolutely. Some of the rumors that are out there, there was an altercation. 18-year-old boys, bunch of boys drinking. Okay, there might be an altercation. Nobody died. Nobody got shot right there.
Right.
Now, he already substantiated that the mother said that the son was drinking. Nolan was drinking. Okay, so we picked that up from him right from the offset. All right. So I want you to focus on what's being said now.
You know, at this altercation, this fight, because there were some videos of some people chirping.
Right.
I don't think Nolan was involved with that from the videos
I
I've
was
seen.
told that
it
didn't have anything to do with him or the group he was with. He was just in the vicinity of it. And again, he had an affinity.
Okay, so this is where it gets to be. I want you guys to pay attention, right? As far as, remember when the video was introduced, as far as the argument about the cell phone, right? Remember where that came from. But I want you to also note what this gentleman is saying, right? He's saying that he don't think it had anything to do with Nolan, okay? So this is different. We're getting 2 different sides here. It's very important to understand that. That's the main point of this.
To try to break up fights.
Yeah.
So if he was in it, he was probably trying to tell people to calm
right.
down.
Hey, chill out. You know, y'all go your own ways.
Right.
Also, it's not hard to understand. Listen, it's a video. You can hear a young man talking about his phone. If it's the mother or father, all you have to do is push play. Is that your son? Is that your daughter? A mother knows, a father knows. No, that's not. The case is over, right? I mean, as far as the whole debate, it was this Nolan, right? Just play it for the parents, right? It's just very simple if you really think about it.
That he got lost on the island. that he went swimming trying to reach a boat, that there was a boat. I mean, so much stuff. And then you get into the truly hateful thing.
So there's narratives going that, now keep this in mind, this is going to be very instrumental. You notice he said there was a narrative that he was left behind and maybe he tried to swim to a boat. That's where this came from. This is one of the earliest points that we get that narrative. I want you guys to pay attention because it's going to prove instrumental later.
Things that, hey, there's some stuff. There was a rumor once or twice that I heard he got on the boat and they pushed him off the boat and they hit him in there. Bullshit. They need to stop that.
Right.
Okay, so you hear what this side is saying, right? Now, he told you he talks to the mother every day, okay? Notice his position. He said that's bullshit. All of these narratives about Nolan being pushed off a boat, all right? So I'm just going to back it up a little bit because we have two different sides, but the parents are in the middle of both. I just want to make that clear, okay? Check it out. I'm going to go back a little bit.
From the videos
I
I've
was
seen,
told
and I
that,
believe he
that it
wasn't.
didn't have anything to do with him or the group he was with. He was just in the vicinity of it. And again, he had an affinity to try to break up fights.
Yeah.
So if he was in it, he was probably trying to tell people to calm
Right.
down.
Hey, chill out. You know, y'all go your own ways.
Right.
That he got lost on the island, that he went swimming trying to reach a boat, that there was a boat. I mean, so much stuff. And then you get into the truly hateful things that, hey, there's some stuff. There was a rumor once or twice that I heard he got on the boat and they pushed him off the boat and they hit him in there. Bullshit.
See, he says that's bullshit, right? He's not buying these conspiracy theories or these stories that are floating. Remember some of the stories that we've heard about. Some ladies came out and they spoke to the person that transported Nolan's body and he was burned. You remember all of these different scenarios that we're hearing, right? Well, he points out one that he heard and he says bullshit, right?
They need to stop that.
Right.
The family doesn't need it. The community doesn't need it. And I'm going to say this, us as Americans don't need it because it's nationwide.
Yeah.
And there's death threats that are going out. There's just some hate speech that's going out. And it's from both sides. It's not just black towards white. It's white towards black. I mean, there's some retaliatory comments, and we need to stop it, right? Period, point blank, stop it. I'm hoping that Crump stops it. I'm hoping that Trump stops it. We just need to all get along.
So you say he hopes that what? Trump and Crump stops it, right? Okay, pay attention.
Right? I mean, that's the thing.
I blame Team USA for getting knocked out by Belgium of the World Cup because now we don't have anything to focus on. We got still like another month and a half before college football starts.
Should we go after the Belgianese? Is that what they're called? Bulgarians?
I heard that Belgium might have they might be working on a nuclear bomb. We might have. No, I'm totally joking. We're not going to war with anybody else. God forbid.
We have our hands full
God
now.
willing.
All right, so now that you process that, we're going to move on. Now we're going to pay attention to more of the details of how Nolan was found. We're going to find a contradiction to what we actually heard today in regards to the autopsy. We're going to get into that and see how that all played out.
Involved when the body was eventually located and found. What can you tell me about the state and position that the body was in that hasn't been reported? Hey everybody, it's Jackson Buhai here with In the Know. I'm joined today by Brian Trasher. He is the VP of the United Cajun Navy and participated in the search for Nolan Wells. He's here to give us his version of events today. Brian, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on today.
Before this interview started, you started to get into the sequence of events surrounding, from when Nolan Wells was first reported missing to you getting in your...
All right, so what's so important about this particular case? Today, Benjamin Crump had mentioned, and one of the key points really to establish that something nefarious happened to Nolan, right? And I'm not here to really separate that or peer into it, but he says that Nolan was fully clothed, right? Now, this guy is a key ingredient because he was actually an individual that saw Nolan as he was lying out there in the water face down. So we have to put all this together. It's all going to come together as we watch the autopsy report We're going to watch that together next.
Plane. Can you walk us through what your story is?
Yeah, sure. So it was kind of late in the evening on 4 July when we first got a call. I think the first dispatch came in through one of our channels, through either a family member or family friend of Nolan's, who ultimately put our incident commander.
So the other guy, he explained who actually reached out. The mother reached out and some other people too. So you could see different individuals explaining different parts of his story from their reference point, right?
In touch with his mother, who at that point was in full on search mode. She at that point was very concerned that he was actually missing and was doing everything. They were doing everything they could to kind of retrace the steps, get his phone, get his keys, all that. So really, it was the next morning when we were told that.
The real question is if the boat, the first guy said at 3 o'clock the boat left. Okay, that's a discrepancy. We need more understanding. But if the boat, according to the GPS, left at 4:30, and the mother is reaching out and they know that he's missing, the question is, what time was that? Right? What time was that? Because we know that all of this is happening on July the 4th. But if the boat leaves at 4:30, that sounds, it's getting close to dark. So we need some understanding as far as the exact times that these individuals, what alerted the mother so that she can reach out to the Cajun Navy on the 4th and not the next day. There's something here that's not being explained. We're going to get into all of this.
That there was going to be another boat going out, possibly containing some of Nolan's family. I'm not sure what the details were of that in the morning on 5 July. That would have been Sunday. And by late morning, we had gotten basically another call saying, hey, if you guys have any boats in the area and can go out there and canvass the island, would appreciate it. So I had two of my volunteers from the Mississippi chapter from Ocean Springs, actually, that put in like say midday on 5 July. They went out to Horn Island. They went on the island first, took a drone, looked around all over from an aerial view, and then they ran a grid between Horn Island and Ship Island with the boat. Both of these volunteers, one's a rescue specialist, one's actually a member of law enforcement, so they have a lot of experience. And they stayed at it for a few hours, and then the weather started to deteriorate, so they came back in. That's when we knew we were done for the day on 5 July. We made the decision that on 6.
So this is on Sunday. They did a thorough search of the interior island and also the sea, and they could not find Nolan. Okay, so now we get into Sunday evening, and they're saying, listen, we need to, as the other guy explained, same company, he says we need to take this to the air, and that's why on Monday morning they had an airplane up.
July, if the weather permitted, we were going to put an aircraft up because we were getting further and further away from the last time Nolan was seen alive. So that's when.
So the other guy, if you notice in the other video we watched, he didn't really get into the weather. So that's why it's important to get different point of views, because now this gentleman is helping us to understand that weather was a key ingredient for Sunday evening in the search for Nolan.
We put that aircraft up. We were wheels up out of Gulfport International at about 06:30 on 6 July.
Right. And so, when you first get the call, how did the United Cajun Navy get looped in? Was it through Christine Monsley's social post, or was it after? Was it, through your own accord?
Yeah, so the way that happened is, my understanding is that when people started posting on social media about Nolan being missing, that a lot of people started tagging the United Cajun Navy, basically just kind of making us aware that this was going on, and then ultimately kind of sequencing to asking us for help. Like I said, there was an official message. I don't know if it came through our voicemail or through one of our email or one of our social media messaging platforms, but somebody made contact with, and our incident commander, I think, was either monitoring the messages or one of our people monitoring told him about the message that came through. Whoever that person was, it wasn't Nolan's mother, but whoever it was knew her and knew how to get in touch with her, and ultimately put our incident commander in touch with Christine that night on 4 July.
I have a question for you. Given the call to the Coast Guard at 11 p.m.
So he confirms that they were able to make a connection with the mother on the 4th of July that night.
and then the request for help the following day from JCSO at around noon. Did you feel like you were starting this search a little bit later than you should be?
There wasn't really, there wasn't anything that we could have done on the night of July 4th, to be honest. But also, too, at that point, I still didn't know. I'll put it this way. On July 4th, when I went to sleep, I didn't know if they had finally gotten in contact with Nolan, if he had come home, if they had found out any new information. It wasn't until the morning of July 5th when I learned that he was still missing overnight. And that's when I became very concerned that, okay, he didn't come home all night. That's a bad sign. And so it was that point when they started calling for all hands and said, okay, we'll put a boat in the water. And then that led to the activities of our search crews on 5 July.
Can you talk to me about the water conditions? What did the water conditions look like that night from where you were?
You're talking about the day he went missing or the day we started searching?
The day you started searching.
They were pretty similar to, for most part of the day, they were pretty similar to the conditions on the 4th of July. They were fairly calm. It was.
So he's saying the waters were fairly calm. So you want to make a note of that. He says similar to July the 4th, the day prior.
Strong currents, but not really big waves, not a lot of wind. It was very hot. Water temperatures were upper 70s, low 80s. Toward the late afternoon, a little front moved in from the west, and presumably it chopped up the Mississippi Sound at that point. But again, our guys aborted when they saw that weather coming. So that was probably like by 3 or 4 o'clock the afternoon of 5 July is when they had to abort that search. And then that night when I huddled with my team, that was when we made the decision that, putting out another boat on Monday, presumably with the weather clearing up, was really going to be futile because, at this point we're getting too far away from the last time he was seen alive. So we needed to cover more ground quickly, and that's why we had to use an aircraft.
You were involved when the body was eventually located and found. What can you...
So this is the key part. I want you guys to note how he describes the body as it was found. That's going to be very instrumental.
Tell me about the state and position that the body was in that hasn't been reported.
Yeah. So again, just to put it into perspective, it was. I'm told it was about 08:45 on 6 July when a park ranger.
So he's discovered around 8:45 a.m. Remember now, you go back to the previous guy. He pointed that they arrived Monday morning roughly around 6:30. Okay, so everything is jiving to what we gather from these men, same company.
On Horn Island, discovered the body, called it in to law enforcement. We had myself and the gentleman who donated his plane that day out of Gulfport. We had been flying for about 2 hours at that point. We were making a track going from Horn Island over to Ship Island down to Chandelier Island, which is south of both of those islands, about another 30 miles. So we were coming back up north towards the northwest tip of Horn Island when we noticed there were boats in the center of the island where there's a lagoon. And then we saw some boats approaching the northwest tip. And then when we got closer, we noticed there were 2 boats already parked in tandem on the beach.
Now, keep in mind, he was found at the northwest. Some are saying he was last seen at the northwest. It's very important to put that together.
That was strange. It was a Monday morning. It was obvious they weren't fishing. So we descended and to about maybe 450 feet, 500 feet. And we could tell it was law enforcement boats, law enforcement personnel. So we descended maybe another.
So just for those who may not be aware, they were at a higher elevation. They descended down once they saw the boats that looked like police officers or what have you. And they were able to get a closer look. They were able to see Nolan as he was lying there face down in the water.
100 feet or so, circled around. And that's when I saw a law enforcement presence gathering on that northwest point. And then I noticed that there was what appeared to be a body right at the shoreline, laying face down on the sand.
The implication is that this body...
Okay, so this guy is saying on the sand. All right, so let's make a note of that.
had washed up, unfortunately, on the shore.
That's what it looked like to me. Yeah.
Did you see any visible injuries or anything that you can speak to at that distance?
No, from
So I would make a note. The individual was there. He clearly says Nolan was face down on the sand. A lot of people are saying he was in the water. So that's a discrepancy there. So make sure you write that down on your white sheet of paper.
again from that height, right? So it's best I can do. The description matched Nolan Wells. It matched the area. It was the area where we were looking. So I had good reason to believe, even before I heard from the sheriff's office, that it was him. The swim trunks appeared to be similar color to what was reported.
Okay, so this is what he's saying. He says the swimming trunks were similar to what was reported. Okay, that's what he's focusing on. He didn't say clothing beyond that. He's just talking about the trunks. And this guy's going to, I believe one of them is going to come back and make a correction today, saying that they really didn't say he had on clothes. He just had on his trunks. So that's why we want to really focus on what's being said here, because we're going to put it up against what we heard at the autopsy today, report the reading. All right. So you'll see that this is a key point here.
The one thing I'll say about the condition of the body, and again, I want to stress very.
So guys, I'm going to go back just so you could catch this. So we're going to go back to maybe 7:55. Let's go back. Okay, here we go.
So I had good reason to believe, even before I heard from the sheriff's office, that it was him. The swim trunks appeared to be similar color to what was reported. The one thing I'll say about the condition of the body, and again, I want to stress very, as much as I can, that I'm.
Now, let me prepare you for this. Benjamin Crump today, when he gives the autopsy reading, we're going to go through that next. But he says that Nolan was actually fully dressed, I believe, something to that nature. Okay, so this is the part where maybe this is stemming from. I'm not sure. And this company came out. We're going to look at it. They correct him based on, because I guess Ben Crump is quoting them. But they're just trying to focus on the fact to say, hey, listen, we said we confirmed that he had on shorts and not fully dressed. OK, so check this out.
I'm at 450 feet in the air. So I did not have a good ground's eye view look. But normally when a body's been floating, you'll see some bloating and whatnot. He wasn't in the water that long. The water temperature was high. He has a low body mass index.
Okay, so the low body mass index, remember I told you guys to write down he was 6'1" and 180 pounds. So see, this is how we start putting facts together. We actually get this from two different individuals, but in the end, you become an expert on it to your own satisfaction. You know a lot about the case. You're not just relying on people to tell you things. And also because we're doing this exercise, when you see a bullshit story on YouTube or someplace, you'll say, oh, you just made that up because I know what was said. All right, let's get to it.
So both of those factors together, normally we'll look for a body to pop up on about day 4, but we knew it was possible it could pop up as soon as day 2, and this was day 2.
All right, so they were expecting his body to pop up, and he's saying the body pops up within the time frame expected. Okay, that's a key point to write down.
But again, the body, I'm trying to think of the most respectful way to say it. The body did not seem at that height to be disproportionate to the way it should look. Now, I could not get a good look at his face. I could not get a good look of the front side of his body, which was on the beach. I was really looking at his back of his legs, back of his arms, that kind of thing. And so that was my vantage point, and I just want to stress to everybody that that's not an ideal vantage point. It's just what I could see, and plus I'm flying at like 90 knots, so I'm going pretty fast. So I'm really getting when I say a glimpse, it's a glimpse.
Was there anything about the location, how close to shore, how far from the shore when he was last seen, that struck you as unusual?
I don't want to say unusual, but I would say that the wind and drift patterns that I was studying what had me believing that he was going to be taken through that ship channel between Horn Island and Ship Island and carried south. It's important to also point out that just like maybe 6 or 7 weeks prior to this, there was a shrimp boat worker who had gone off MOB, man overboard, off of a shrimp boat in Pascagoula, which is on the coast, like close to Horn Island, and it took about a week before we found him, but he had washed up all the way down at the Chandelier Island, so that could have also influenced my pattern of thought, just because in a similar, I mean, he didn't go overboard on the island, but it was in a similar area, and he got carried through that channel. Based on where Nolan washed up, my assumption, again, I'm a search and rescue person. I'm not an investigator, but it seems like what happened was he was carried north, which indicates to me that he might have got caught in a rip current, and it carried him north. And then as the tide slacked and the current changed back to a southward heading, it carried him right back to the beach. The only thing that really stood out to me that I was not expecting is that he washed up very, very close to the last spot where he was seen alive. I wasn't expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's a bit of a coincidence. What do you guys think in regards to that? Put it in the comments. Do you think it's strange? A lot of people are running a narrative based on the fact that he showed up back to the area. There's stories out there that he was brought back, taken from the island, brought back and laid where he was last seen, as though this is something nefarious that happened. Tell us in the comment section what you think based on, we could say this guy here was involved, but he's probably more of an expert than most individuals that would be watching this.
Is there anything you saw or heard during the search that you feel hasn't gotten enough public attention?
I think that the biggest thing that stands out for me, and I think this sort of is why I understand the way that his parents have gone about this search and the whole case, is that there's just seems to be no information past about 4:30 that afternoon on July 4th until he was found. Now, I'm told that police have interviewed up to 60 witnesses. There's a lot of people who have turned in images and videos to us, and there's people I know that have turned images and videos over to law enforcement. So there's a lot about this. There's a lot of evidence in this case I have not personally seen, and a lot of accounts I have not heard. But based on everything that people did offer to us, it's just it's just hard to understand why, his friends leave, sometime around 4:30. That seems to be about the last time somebody said they visually saw him on the island with a different.
Okay, so now notice his timing is more accurate to the GPS. As time has gone on, you're starting to see the times sync up. So instead of 3 o'clock that his business mate had recall someone saying, he's actually saying 4:30, which now we know the GPS showed that the boat left at 4:31.
Friend group, and then just nobody ever saw him again after that. And so that's why I like I said, I fully understand the parents are like, I mean, it's like a vanishing, and that doesn't make any sense. So like, of course they want to accept every bit of help they can get and just have it looked into as thoroughly as possible, because they buried their son today and they need to know why.
Mr. Trasher, I sincerely appreciate you joining me today. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, so he was being interviewed the day of the funeral. Now, probably not the funeral that we saw on television, because of what I understand, they actually was able to bury him the day before. So the big funeral that you saw on television, that was the day afterward, or if you saw it on YouTube, wherever you watched it at. Okay, so all of this is very important. So now we get some backdrop on what's happening. So now we're going to get a chance to look at the autopsy report released today. I found it quite intriguing because I was sitting there. I anticipated being able to hear about what happened, because everybody wants to know what happened to Nolan. I will say it took a while for the report to come through, but I was able to fully understand it. But let's get to it now. I want to thank you guys. Hit the like button, share, subscribe as we go through this. Tomorrow, we're going to go back and look at the press conferences It's very important that you watch this entire show so that we can keep putting all the facts together. In the end, you'll see where this is going. Let's check out the autopsy reading today. Let's check it out.
For that, we are honored to pause even for a moment to respond accordingly here at our national convention. Momentarily, you will hear from renowned civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who will provide updates on the findings of the independent autopsy that was conducted in the death of Nolan Wells. Immediately following that, we will take questions from credentialed media. We will attempt to answer as many questions as we can. However, we want to be respectful of the fact that we do have additional programming that is going on to conclude our convention today as well. So we're asking that all press and media, if you're asking questions, please be concise, give your name, give your media credential, and we'll go from there. But before he comes, we will have the leader of the NAACP, President Derek Johnson, to give opening remarks. President Johnson.
Good morning. Far too often our young people are confronted with challenges, and many jurisdictions and states don't take those challenges serious. We cannot allow another individual, particularly a young black man's death, go uninvestigated. We have seen this happen over the years, not only in Mississippi, but across the country.
Now, I want to stop here for a moment. I want to hear from you guys in the audience. We have over 400 people. He says it's under investigated. So far, I think it's fair to say that the state came forward to say, now this is in accordance with the preliminary first autopsy report, that it was an accidental drowning. Okay. So do you think, according to what he just said, that the investigation has been legitimate so far from the standpoint of the state? Okay, do you think the state has done a good job so far in regards to Nolan Wells' case? Put a 1 in the chat if you think so. Put a 2, no. Put a 3 if you don't really know what to think.
It is unfortunate that our young people only seek to enjoy life. And as a result of participating in activities, no longer have life. For the NAACP, we take this and many other cases serious because every person matters. I want to thank the Mississippi State Conference, particularly Alicia Perryman, for working with the family and supporting the family on the onset. Because it's difficult to lose a loved one, it's even more difficult to navigate a process when all eyes are on you. And the pressure of balancing between grieving and navigating is upon you. And so, for the NAACP family, this is our role, is to step in, to support when the families have an issue like this, and the local officials seem not to hold people accountable. It's unfortunate when you see news reports and law enforcement officials are repeating what individuals are saying as opposed to investigate the individuals who gave you the information, because you don't know who was involved or not involved. And so narrative matters in this case. And we're saying that in Nolan Wells' situation, the narrative should not be it was an accident before there was an investigation. The narrative should not be the words of individuals who went on a boat to the island with him, but they came without him, but with his cell phone, and you don't investigate those individuals. We're not accusing anyone of anything other than the state of Mississippi and local officials. We're accusing them of being derelict in their duties to follow up and to ensure that regardless of what happened, that there was a proper investigation so that this family and that community could be assured that if anyone was involved, they would be held accountable. And if it was truly an accident, that the families will have the necessary answers that any family deserves in this situation. I want to bring to the podium Attorney Benjamin Crump, a friend of mine who have stepped in to take the case and in support of the family to ensure that they get the answers that they deserve and that local officials and anyone involved will be held accountable to this family, to that system, because we are all parents, siblings, to loved ones who should not be confronted with this reality. Attorney Crump.
Thank you very much, President Derrick Johnson, for your leadership, for the leadership of the Mississippi Conference of NAACP, and being...
For those of you that are just coming in, this took place in Chicago. So the family went out to Chicago. Keep in mind the second, I believe, first press conference was actually in New York. And I believe the second one was down in Mississippi. So the family has been diligently spreading the word along with Benjamin Crump and Al Sharpton when it comes to Nolan Wells.
They're doing the homegoing services to help the family go through what no parents want to go through. Thank you to Chairman Leon Russell, my longtime mentor from Florida, who helped raise so many of us. Thank you for always being there, Chairman Russell. As President Johnson said, I'm Attorney Ben Crump, representing the family of Nolan Wells. But it's not just me, it is a team effort of incredible, dedicated lawyers and investigators and paralegals. Attorney Lisa Park, attorney who you'll hear from in a few minutes, Attorney Eric Hertz, Attorney Gary Buchan, Attorney Camila Moore, Cliff Jones, Jared Presson, Alan Williams, our whole team of people who are committed, as I said, President Johnson, on this ferocious search for the truth of what really happened to Nolan Wells. But before we begin to discuss the intricacies of the preliminary findings of the independent autopsy, we think it would be appropriate for you all to hear from the people who knew Nolan Wells best, so they can thank you themselves and tell you about the trials and tribulations that they have been enduring since July 4th. July 4th would never be the same for them. I bring to the podium Nolan Wells' mother and father, Christine and Elmore. Please give them a warm NAACP welcome.
First of all, I want to say thank you all so much. Thank you to President Johnson as well as Chairman Russell. This has been a difficult journey. Losing a child, it truly breaks your heart. It is a pain that is just, you can't measure it. Especially someone like Nolan, who brought so much joy and light and life to everyone. You don't find too many genuine people like him. So to lose that light at such a young age under these circumstances has been absolutely difficult, which is why we've gone this route. There's so many people out in the public asking all of these questions, but the only question that we have is what happened to our son. That is the only question. We have consistently been degraded by the public, There's been questions about our parenting, our GoFundMe, this, that, and other. I've been called a racist.
Now, I just want to break down what she's saying. As far as the GoFundMe, I think they raised roughly, I think they were asking for 850. I think they raised $750,000. So that's what she's referring to, the amount of money that they raised. And also, just to give you a little backdrop, there are individuals that are saying, well, this is all grifting. This was just an accidental drowning, and there's no they're here. This is just all drummed up. So you have people, especially in our country, that are really pushing that narrative in regards to Nolan Wells and his family. And even after this, you're going to have the group of people that say, oh, this was just a waste of time. There was no there. But then you also have other individuals that left. They heard this and they walked away basically saying that his organs have been stolen. And some are even saying that he had trauma to the back of his head. So keep all this in mind as we go through this.
I am a healthcare provider, and I take my job very seriously. I love everyone. And it's been difficult for us, but we are leaning into our faith, leaning into one another, also leaning into all of you. There are not enough thank yous, not enough appreciation for what you guys have done for us. And we do. We love you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. And so it is our hope that our local authorities will do what they need to do, because us having the preliminary autopsy results and hearing nothing from them, it's heartbreaking and it's concerning, which again is why we are here, why we have asked for this help. So again, thank you all so much for your support. We appreciate you, we really do.
It's interesting that she's saying they haven't heard from the local authorities.
Every day I wake up, it's a new challenge. Knowing that a part of me I will never talk to, I will never hold, I will never play around with or get mad at, is not here anymore. Nolan brought a lot of joy to our family. He was the wittiest one out of everyone. The clown. He loved to put in the work because he wanted to be the best. He wanted to make me and his mother proud, and we were so proud of him just for being the person that he was. He was loving. All his teachers knew him, but loved him. He walks in the room, his aura, you are automatically drawn to it. Never met an enemy. And if they were, they would eventually be friends, because they would eventually bond, and it's gonna be hard. He should be at football practice right now, calling me after practice, Dad, I made this play, or I made that play, or I get a text with 3 or 4 videos of him doing this, running this route, making this block, and what you think I should do? And I would give my honest, because I always tell her, if anyone is going to be totally honest with you, it's going to be me. And it's not because I'm being mean, but people outside of your family are going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to know to make you better. It's going to be hard for our family from here on out. And like I said, every day is a challenge. We're going to miss our son. And like my wife said, we just want honesty. We want to know what happened to our son, because the things that you're telling us, that's not the character of our son. We know our son. I understand, our children would do things that, that would kind of dumbfound us sometimes, but the things that we're being told, that wasn't Nolan. So please keep us in your prayers, keep him in your prayers. and we're going to keep pushing and fighting until we find answers. Thank you guys for your love and support.
Thank you so much, Christine and Nolan. Christine and Elmore, Nolan's mother and father. Before we start to go over the preliminary findings from the independent autopsy, we will hear from Attorney Lisa Park to tell you about who was the forensic pathologist who conducted the autopsy. Attorney Lisa Park.
Thank you. Dr. Roger Mitchell could not join us today, but we felt it important before we reveal and unfold this report that you understand who conducted this autopsy. Dr. Roger Mitchell is a physician and board-certified forensic pathologist with 2 decades of experience. He currently serves as the president of the National Medical Association, which is the oldest and largest group of Black physicians in the U.S. Most recently, he also served as president of Howard University Hospital, chief medical officer of the Howard University Faculty Practice Plan, and chair of the Department of Pathology. Before joining Howard, he served as chief medical examiner for Washington, D.C. from 2014 to 2021, and later as interim deputy mayor for the Public Safety and Justice. Dr. Mitchell has conducted and managed thousands of autopsies and is nationally recognized for his work at the intersection of medicine, public health, and justice. And for this case, we sought out the very best, and we are proud to be working with the very best.
Thank you, Attorney Park. I again want to express our gratitude to President Johnson, Chairman Russell, and the NAACP, because civil rights is more important than ever in the United States of America today. And so we thank you for the civil rights leaders stepping up to say that our children's lives matter now more than ever. And I want to thank all of you for getting up 8 in the morning. If people could see how many people are gathered here, they would say, you all are truly blessed to have the support of America, Christine and Elmore. And I want to thank the media for covering this matter, because they don't always cover when our children are taken away from us in highly unquestionable ways. And I do understand there's a lot of news going on in America today. I woke up to them saying LeBron James is going to announce where he's going to play basketball next year. But I'm very happy that the media said this story is just as important. And I'm sure LeBron James and Rich Paul and Stephon Curry and Draymond Green, Jaylen Brown, Embiid, Maxey, Giannis, Bam, and many other players in the National Basketball Association will all agree that our children's lives are far more important than where LeBron or any other player will play next year. And so that's why I thank you all for being here, because this news is as important as any news in the United States of America, finding out why is Nolan Wells dead. And I want to thank you all who have called the call center. I want to thank Reverend Al Sharpton. I want to thank Mr. Tyler Perry. I want to thank Mr. Terry Owens for putting up the $125,000 reward for anybody out there who have information so we can get to the truth of what happened. I mean, any videos, and we've gotten so many videos, President Johnson, from that day from young people, and we want them to have the courage to come forward with the pictures, what you heard. I know people said there were a lot of disturbances out there. Some believe it involved Nolan. All of those things are important to get to the truth of what happened. The fact, Christine, that the United Cajun Navy are so forthcoming. The fact that they told us, we haven't heard from any of their local officials, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed. But that's...
Okay, so you guys heard that? This is the part here. We heard from the guy from the Cajun Navy, right? But notice this is where he says something different, and they come back and they're going to actually correct him. Because the guy basically said that he observed Nolan in his shorts, right? That's what he saw. But notice Ben Crump says something different. Just check this out.
Young people, and we want them to have the courage to come forward with the pictures, what you heard. I know people said there were a lot of disturbances out there. Some believe it involved Nolan. All of those things are important to get to the truth of what happened. The fact, Christine, that the United Cajun Navy...
Right, so this is the part he's quoting the United Cajun Navy, who we just spent about 2 hours going through their words, right? Notice what he says.
Are so forthcoming. The fact that they told us, we haven't heard from any of their local officials, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed.
Okay, so he says that they said Nolan was out there face down, fully clothed. Actually, that's not what they said. Not to make a big deal of it, but this is what the media was running with today. I'm just here to show you guys why that's the case. So they ultimately came back and said, listen, we didn't say he was fully clothed. We basically said he was in his shorts, the same shorts, I guess, that were identifiable in other videos and photos throughout the day, July the 4th.
Significant to us because the last time we saw him on the videos, he was without a shirt.
Okay, so he's saying, listen, last time we saw him in the video, he didn't have a shirt on. Well, that is more consistent to what the United Cajun Navy had actually said. So that's why they corrected him. Just for those of you who may not be aware.
At what point did he put on a shirt? Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. There were almost 300, 400.
So based on what the United Cajun Navy said, it appears that he never put on a shirt and he was actually found in those shorts. All right. Just for accuracy. That's all.
People, somebody knows something. So, Scott X, we're trying to just make sure people understand that you can call the Nolan Wells tip line. at bencrump.com. We will gladly listen to you, take any information as we try to put together this puzzle of what happened to Nolan Wells. And today, we're going to add some more parts to this puzzle because my legal team and I, we stand for truth, no matter who it implicates or who it exonerates. We stand for justice, no matter who it convicts or it acquits. Yeah, and we stand for transparency because we got eyes that can see, and we don't need government officials having to narrate it for you and me. We can see it for ourselves. Transparency. That leads to the truth. The truth is the foundation for accountability and justice. And that's all we're seeking, as Christina Elmore said from day one. So with that, and Christina Elmore, if you all want to sit, we're about to go through this autopsy. And I know it may be a little emotional. Thank you, President.
So yeah, the family stepped down because this could be quite emotional going through the autopsy. Very similar to in the Carmelo Anthony case, they had the family actually leave out. They gave them the option that Austin Metcalf's family, they were allowed to leave because the medical examiner's report would be too vicious, and so I was able to see that most of the family left. All right. John says they wanted to be foul play so bad, but don't have the evidence. Okay, thanks for your comment.
As we begin to present the preliminary findings of the autopsy, we want to especially thank Mr. Colin Kaepernick for not thinking it robbery to pay for the autopsy. Let's go with the first one. So, an autopsy will be provided for the media at press@bencrump.com. And so, Mr. Jones, keep that. I don't need this. So, pull this up. So, Dr. Roger Mitchell, board certified forensic pathologist, performed a preliminary report on the death of Nolan Xavier Wells. He conducted and presented this report on July 19, 2026. Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nolan Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation. and we'll explain that as we go through the report this morning. The manner of death, undetermined pending investigation. Statement of examination. This forensic pathologist was retained to perform a second autopsy examination on the body of Nolan Xavier Wells. Name of decedent, Nolan Xavier Wells, age 18 years old, race, black, gender, male, date of death, unknown. Second autopsy date was performed on July 10th, 2026. Preliminary findings, and this is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. He said the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decompensation. He said corona incision of the scalp, brain removal, Y-shaped incision of the anterior torso, and he talked about the organs being removed, as is common.
Okay, so this is the part that everybody ran with the organs being removed. You can hear the audience, people went into an uproar. But he's going to explain why it's common, because keep in mind that a previous autopsy was completed.
Accompanied in the body cavity. And that when you have an autopsy, the organs are removed from the body and they're dissected and examined. And then they're put back in a bag within inside the body. So when they're buried, their remains will all be with them. But in this occasion, if there's going to be a second autopsy, then the organs are put in the body cavity so the second pathologist could be able to examine the organs as well. Very significant for Dr. Mitchell was that the anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. And we'll explain that in just a minute. And then it talks about the additional procedures performed during the second autopsy. And we'll go into the paragraphs on that there because he explains it better in his narrative. So where's the first page of the discussion? Not the diagram yet. Diagram over there. So he talks in the preliminary discussion opinion. This forensic pathologist identified several limitations during the second autopsy that create barriers to establishing a definitive cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells. And that's important. He talks about the fact that we didn't get to see the body when it was first recovered, like the medical examiner working for Mississippi would have seen. He talked about the second autopsy performed on Nolan Wells revealed marked decompensation or changes. Marked decompensation can obscure the presence and absence of bruising on the skin surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. What he's saying, because the body was so decomposed that you couldn't tell if there was bruises or abrasions on the body when he received it on the 10th of
Guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe. Thank you very much.
For these reasons, additional dissection procedures not performed during the first autopsy examination were performed to rule out potential blunt force injuries responsible for the death. These procedures included facial dissection, posterior head and neck dissection, dissection of the ribs, the pelvic, dissection of the subcutaneous and deep soft tissue, dissection of the back, the buttocks, the arms, and legs. He did all of this to rule out things. He ruled out there were no fractures or deep tissue injuries identified. This was very important because he wanted to be very thorough and very transparent, because transparency is the key to getting to the answers of why Nolan Wells is not with us. So he did that there and was very straightforward, very open, very open. He says, however, dissection of the back of the head during the layered posterior neck dissection revealed a 12 by 8-inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissues overlaying the occipital bone. And he talked about how he found red discoloration when he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone, and he saw the red discoloration, and we actually saw the pictures of it. It's significant. You can't help but notice, why is this dark red here in the back of his head? And so he was important to note that in his report. He said that etiology.
Tell us in the comment section, why do you think the back of his head was red? Let's see if anybody have any ideas.
Of this finding is unclear. There are no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to both the extensive decomposition and the absence of associated injuries. This finding, however, is significant enough to be highlighted in this preliminary report for further investigation. It is important to reiterate that the finding could not have been observed in the first autopsy because the posterior head and neck dissection were not performed. He said another limitation faced by this forensic pathologist was the absence of the anterior internal neck structures. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. So he's saying that the throat.
You can actually hear the crowd. People are puzzled, and they're responding to the missing body parts, right?
Was not received.
But we do understand that there was a previous autopsy, and the pathologist had their reasons. From what I understand, some of the items were not completed yet.
With the body, when he got Nolan Wells body in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. And so let's discuss that with what he said about that. He said, it is assumed that the initial pathologist retained these structures for additional evaluation. He said the retention of the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy is a common forensic pathology practice. He was chief medical examiner for 7 years in Washington, D.C., and he said that if they had concern about throat or any fracture or compression of the throat, they too will hold them back. He doesn't know why they held the throat back, but he said the throat was not with the body of Nolan Wells when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second.
All right. Can somebody explain to us, to the best of your ability, why the throat was missing when the body came to the second pathologist? Can you tell us?
Autopsy. He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation. Remember, it's about transparency. Because the initial autopsy rightfully removed and dissected each organ, there are additional limitations inherent in the second autopsy of Nolan Wells. The most significant of the limitations was the inability to directly observe the airway and the lungs for water and directly observe the stomach for gastric contents. He said it is very significant as to what the initial forensic scientists who got to review the body when it was recovered. We have heard from our call center people saying the body wasn't waterlogged. Well, we need to know those things. But unfortunately, because the body was decomposed and the organs have already been dissected, those are things we can only get from the initial autopsy. So therefore, again, the manner and cause of death is undetermined until further investigation. We are hopeful that the Mississippi Medical Examiner would give Dr. Mitchell an opportunity to see their photographs and their observations to the condition of Nolan Wells' body closer in time to July 4th. That is very important, and we have to continue to demand transparency, President Johnson. In addition, the original toxicology results have not been received at the time of this report. And we continue to wait for the toxicology to come back because, again, that will be part of the investigation.
All right, guys, we have a lot of people here. Put a 1 in the chat if you think something nefarious happened to Nolan Wells. Put a 2 if no. Put a 3 if you're not sure.
Into Nolan Wells' autopsy by Dr. Mitchell. It is significant to know that it's many things that go into toxicology that only Dr. Mitchell will be able to opine upon, and medical experts can opine upon. And he feels the proper place to do that is before a grand jury in a courtroom. And so we would hope that the district attorney would present Dr. Mitchell before the grand jury as well. We want all relevant information to be heard by the grand jury.
So they want the grand jury that Crump says is coming down the pipeline. They want the second pathologist to go before the grand jury with his facts and points too. What do you guys think about that?
Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water.
Hey, Connie.
Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water with suspicion of drowning, it is important to confirm how that person entered the water. This is the crux of the matter. This information is especially important for those deaths of persons who can swim. As in the case with Nolan Wells, at the time of this report, this forensic pathologist does not know the condition of Nolan Wells. He did not know whether he was conscious or unconscious when he entered the water. He said that would be significant. He said he did not know whether he was forced into the water or unforced into the water. He said that would be significant. So he said the condition of Nolan Wells before he entered the water.
Guys, Phil James says this is not how it works. The prosecutor presents to the grand jury, not private investigators. Thank you, Phil.
Would be the crux of the matter. It would be of utmost importance to being able to determine a cause and manner of death. He said, definitive circumstances of death are required to determine the manner of death. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out, and let me really call your attention to this. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells. Understand, he's saying based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant. With the following questions still outstanding, number one, what were the circumstances that led to Nolan Xavier Wells entering the water? Number two, what was the body position when it was found? We know that a member of the United Cajun Navy said that he was face down and he was fully clothed. Number three, was there water in the airway? Remember he talked about...
Okay, so there's the issue again, that he was face down and fully clothed. Let's go through that. I'm going to go back a little bit because that's been debunked. But let's see. It was in writing. Let's check it out.
Examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant. With the following questions still outstanding, number one, what were the circumstances that led to Nolan Xavier Wells entering the water? Number two, what was the body position when it was found? We know that a member of the United Cajun Navy said that he was face down and he was fully clothed.
Okay, so that was corrected. He was not fully clothed according to the United Cajun Navy. He didn't read that part. This is just his own words that he was adding to the equation. All right.
Number 3, where's there water in the airway?
Guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe. Thank you very much.
Remember he talked about the lungs and the airways where they fill with water. Number 4, is there any evidence of injuries to the anterior neck structure? We got the autopsy without his neck. We got the body without his neck at the time of the second autopsy. Number 5, is there any evidence of any intracranial hemorrhage? He said that is going to be very significant. Things that he could not observe at autopsy that the initial medical examiner would have been able to observe. Number 6 was the composition of what was the composition of the stomach contents. He talks about that being important because when was he found? How long had he been in the water? How long had it been since his last meal? All those things become relevant factors when you're trying to do a thorough and impartial autopsy. And number 7, what are the toxicology report findings? He said the best classification again for the cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells is undetermined pending investigation. This forensic pathologist reserves the right to review and incorporate additional forensic pathology information into his opinion as it becomes available. He says the above opinions are expressed to a reasonable degree of medical certainty. Dr. Roger A. Mitchell, July 19, 2026.
All right, guys. Lee McFadden says, I guess the question is, how did he know that his body washed up the next day and to what location it was at after they searched the location the day before? Thank you, Lee.
And we know that, as I said, this is only another part of the puzzle. And even though it tells us significant information, we still have more questions than we have answers at this time. And we will continue to press forward and persist, Christine and Elmore, with getting the answers to these questions. Because as you, yes, we will persist, because as Christine and Elmore and Attorney Parker and I talked this morning, we know that there are so many conflicting stories. The fact that she said him being found face down, the fact that we had.
Guys, we're going to wrap this up, and then I'm going to show you one of the boys, Warren. He was interviewed. We're going to put all that we learned tonight together in accordance to what one of his friends had to say, right? A lot of people are disturbed by the word friends when talking about his acquaintances. I get that, but I'm just speaking in regards to what we've learned thus far. All right, so stick around. We're going to get to that. Hit the like button, share, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing a lot of these deep dives at night, so get used to it, folks.
There are other videos where people who have called said that is Nolan, who is in some kind of dispute with others. We're looking at all of these things. The fact that the GPS tracking of the boat is being questioned by many. We're trying to dot every I and cross every T, because we understand that when our children's lives are at stake. It matters. Not just what happened, but what we do in the aftermath of them being taken away from us. And just like the NAACP stood up when another tragedy in Mississippi taking the life of young Emmett Till, we will stand up for Nolan Wells.
Put a 1 in the chat if you think Nolan Wells is a modern day Emmett Till. Put a 2 if you disagree. Put a 3 if you don't know.
Just like the NAACP and civil rights leaders stood up when another Mississippi son was taken in Medgar Evers. We will stand up for Nolan Wells. And just like too many of our young people, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, Terrence Crutcher, Stephon Clark, Sandra Bland, Atiana Jefferson, Alton Sterling, Eric Gardner, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, the young people who I was trying to focus on. Gary, we stand up until we get the truth, until we get justice for Nolan Wells. 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 We would ask if Christine and Elmore and President Johnson can come back and join us.
All right. So listen, guys, let's take a moment now. We're going to have a moment of silence for Nolan Wells. But I want to ask you guys a question. Do you think that this whole autopsy report, we have very intelligent people here today. Do you feel like this was actually proving anything nefarious when it comes to Nolan Wells? Do you think anything they presented? Because the original preliminary autopsy report, I believe, from what I understand, says that he passed away due to an accidental drowning. Okay. So that's possibly what's on record from the state. So based on everything that you heard so far in regards to this autopsy report, do you feel like there was a smoking gun or anything to show that Nolan Wells was something nefarious happened to him? He was murdered. Put a 1 in the chat if you think it did. Put a 2 if no. I think it's very important to answer that question because we have a lot of people online saying, listen, there was no smoking gun when it comes to this autopsy report today. So 1 if you think so, 2 if you think no, 3 if you just don't even care. But let's really answer that question. Was there anything from this autopsy report that you could hang your hat on to say, listen, let's pull those 3 boys in, let's pull somebody in because he was murdered? Okay, so let's start now. Even if you answered before, I want to try to get a full understanding of what the group is thinking in regards to this. Okay, so we have World Outreach Ministry says yes. Okay. All right. Gary says no. Okay. Stanley says we need to wait for the initial autopsy. Good point, Stanley. Curtis says on that level like that. Okay, not sure what that means. Okay, guys, tell us what you think. Was there anything in this autopsy that leads you to believe that Nolan was murdered in any way? Put a 1 if you think so. Put a 2 if no. Okay. Commander says 2, no smoking gun yet. Okay. Disturb Radical says yeah. Okay. John says IMO. They haven't proven anything foul play or natural cause. Okay. Blacktop says sheep. Okay. Harlem says no. John says no. Okay. Just Be Strong says yes. Okay. Anton says yes. New Jerseyan says no. Stanley says no. Okay. Musk says unsure right now. AI says the head injury. Okay. Elizabeth says yes. Okay. Blaze says 1 bruises to the head. Okay. You know what's so weird about this? So I will tell you guys that. And thank you guys for all the comments. Let's see. Emperor says, okay, that's to Matrix. Okay. You know what's interesting? TMZ had Ben Krupp on today. And, they're working together. I get it. But you know what? The guy Harvey, he came on and he says, yeah, um, something like he did some research and you can have the redness in the back of the head, I believe, from being on the gurney, something like that. So I thought it was interesting that he kind of threw that out there, even though they were having Ben Crump on the show religiously lately. Okay, Grumpy says, sound like he was swimming and got hit by a boat, which happens. Okay. All right. Let's see. It's real says, if it was the state, I had the autopsy that confirms drowning, I would have released before Crump. Okay. I think they're waiting on the toxic. Yeah, they're waiting on the toxicology. So we'll have to see what happens in regards to the state. I think both of them are actually waiting for the report, but at least that's the word that we get in regards to the state report. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. The next 17 minutes, we'll be out of here. I want to show you guys the report, the words coming from one of the guys who actually went there with Nolan. Guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing deep dives like this. The next deep dive I'm going to be doing is going to be Nancy Guthrie. I have some powerful information in regards to Nancy Guthrie. So thank you very much for all the support. Hit the like button, share, subscribe to the channel. Let's get to it. Give me 1 second here. We're going to add this to the stage. Okay, very good. All right. So let's check this out. Again, now we're going to hear from the friend. I want you to put together everything that we learned tonight and see how much this matches up. All right.
Some very pointed questions. I mean, just straight out. The first thing I want to ask you is, did you kill Nolan? All right, Warren, we had a chance to get to know each other over the last, 2 days. Went out to Horn Island. So I've had an opportunity to talk to you about a few things. And the things that you've told me have literally blown my mind. But the world haven't had a chance yet to hear your story, to hear Nolan's story through you, through his friend. And it's not just you, it's a bunch of y'all. But, some of the other guys were afraid because of the threats and the violence that's been threatened against their lives and all of the above. But you decided that you wanted to take this bold step and give a statement and, get your side out here. And I want to start at the very beginning of all of this and ask you, what was your relationship like with Nolan? Who was he to you?
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college. We talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends. And Nolan was like a brother to me. And Nolan lit up every room he walked in. He always had a smile on his face. He always had something good to say. I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody and say bad things about someone. There's a lot of people that talk crap nowadays, and Nolan was never that person. Sweetest.
Everybody show Stella, moderator Stella, show her some love. She's the one that pointed out this interview. All right. Thank you, Stella.
Soul ever. And I had a great relationship with Nolan. I've never got in an argument with Nolan. We were super close, and I've never said or will ever have anything bad to say about Nolan Wells.
Yeah, and you guys, you said you kind of grew up together. Did you know his mom, or how was that? Because I saw in the media where it appears that she may have said, at least I saw in part, that she said as if she didn't know any of you guys.
Right. Well, Nolan, a lot of the times was at like my house and at my buddy's house. We never went to Nolan's house and hung out. I mean, and my friend group's very, very tight knit. I mean, we hang out every day when we're back home from school. In high school, we hung out most weekdays and every day on the weekend. And I mean, we were never at Nolan's house, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I met his father, and I mean, in 8th grade, that's when Nolan and I like got really close. It was COVID year, and we were in class all year long together, me and a couple of my buddies. And
I mean, they go back to grade school, so this is just not a new kid on the block type of relationship here.
Nolan and I just got super tight because we'd get a Waffle House once a week together, eat, and I mean, we were just super, super close. But his dad would swing by Waffle House, you know, and like, you know, hang out around us, but never, you know, I was never around Nolan's parents a lot. But I mean, that didn't change our relationship any. Nolan and I were still just as close, and he was just as close with my friends as, you know, anyone else. So,
and walk me through the day of 4th of July where you guys were all going out.
Right.
This seems like something that I would assume that may have occurred more than just this year.
Yeah, of course.
Was it something that you guys did?
Okay, guys, Matt says he's never been to his best friend's house. I think a lot of people can understand that one, you know.
More than just this year? This is a 2-part question. I want to know, is it something that you guys typically did together? Did you hang out often in this fashion? And then I want you to then walk me through 4th of July this year when the incident happened.
Okay. You know, being from the Gulf Coast, there's a boating and fishing is very, very popular. The 4th of July, every year, my friends and I, or my family and I, are out on the water. I mean, that's the one day is guaranteed everybody's going out. And that's a known thing. Everybody's trying to get a ride out to Horn Island, or, you know, people go to Ship Island, but most of everybody from Ocean Springs and the Gulf Coast go to Horn Island. And, you know, we went last year. Nolan was on the boat with me last year, and he was, I mean, this was a common thing. My friends go on the boat when we're home. Very, very common. That's what we like to do. My friends like to fish also, and like to go on the boat, not just fishing, but like to go on the boat, like to go on sunset cruises, like to do it all, you know, on the water, you know.
His body language, he seems rather open, right?
And I mean, Nolan loved to do that too. I mean, he was not like he was just like everyone else in our friend group. He loved to go on the water and, you know, have a good time with the guys. And that's what we did a lot. But 4th of July, everybody was out there. Like I said, like Nolan was always trying to go on the boat, trying to go out there with us. And he was always welcome to come. Nolan was always out there with us. And, but started 4th of July, you know, my buddies and I had talked about this week's upcoming, you know, everybody's very, very excited for the 4th of July from down here. Like it's a big thing.
It's a big deal.
Very, very big deal. And, I mean, I actually stayed with Nolan that night at my buddy's house, and I woke up at my buddy's house, and we went to McDonald's, got food. Nolan was not with me. And, I went and got breakfast. I had my buddy's boat hooked up to my truck. And well, first I ran to my house, then I went to McDonald's and came back, and the boat was already hooked up to my truck. My buddy Wyatt and I went, and with my buddy, and we went, topped the boat off, loaded it down with ice, and just got everything ready. Then Wyatt went and put his smaller boat in the water, which is the Palm Beach. He's an 18-foot Palm Beach. And I drove the boat from Fort Bayou Boat Launch to my buddy's grandparents' house, and that's where we all planned to meet up that day. And
you say we all, who are you talking about? You, Nolan, and how many people are going to meet you guys there?
We had roughly 20 to 30 people coming on 3 separate boats with us. And so we were all following each other out there as one big group. You know, it wasn't just me and Nolan and a couple other my buddies. There was 20 or 30 people spread out where we all met at the dock before, and then we departed to go to Horn Island. It wasn't just a couple of us. I mean, there were so many people, we had to split up between 3 boats, and we all left and all got there at the same time.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's clear, because the statements that are out there made it appear.
All right, 3 boats. And I showed you guys about 5 days ago. If it wasn't so late, I would show you the whole breakdown. Maybe I can pull it up really quickly, but let's keep pushing.
That it was just you, Nolan, and probably 2 or 3 other guys, and y'all are the only ones that went out to this island.
And that's completely incorrect. I mean, Horn Island on the 4th of July is the most popular day to be on the water on, you know, throughout the entire Gulf Coast. I mean, everybody and their mom is on the water on 4th of July, you know. There's no telling. I mean, roughly probably 2 to 3, maybe even 4,000 people out there. There were boats lined up off the island. I mean, there was 3 rows of boats all the way until my vision ended, until I could see of people from, I mean, there was 1 row of boats, and then there was another row of boats, and then there was a 3rd row of boats.
Yeah.
I mean, there was people lined up all up and down the island to where, I mean, who knows? I mean, and that wasn't just, we were parked on the north side, on the west tip. It wasn't just there. I mean, there's tons of people packed out on the south side and on the east end and in the middle of the island. But just where we were, I mean, there was easily 1,000 people. It wasn't just us.
Let's go back a little bit. I want to go back to you guys at the dock, getting on the boat. You're saying there's multiple people, probably 20 or 30 people getting on 3 boats.
Right.
What boat were you on, and what boat was Nolan on?
Nolan was on Wyatt 22 Triton. On the way out, I went with my buddy Bart, because we had a lot of friends from college coming down, and Bart, I called Bart that morning. I was like, "Hey man, can you take your boat out?" And he was like, "Yeah, well, my dad's decided not to go, and I'll take the boat, and I'll take you and your friends." Of course. I mean, he's a buddy of mine. And so Bart pulled up at the dock, and I mean, I rode out there with Bart and a lot of the girls that go to college with my friends and I, and Nolan rode out on the Triton. And then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. There was like 8 people on the Triton. And then there was 8 or 9 people on the Triton. And then there was the rest of the group, which was ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line, which is 24 tide line.
And so you guys get on, and I know a little bit more than the audience do, because we went out there a little earlier, because I wanted to see exactly what the drive was like, what the dock was like, how far it is out there.
Of course.
But I want you to tell, you know, the audience, like, what was this trip like? You know, how was the waters? You know, did you guys do anything in between the time you rode and the time you get to the island? Was there music? Is it like a big party? Like, what is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously music's blasting. It's 4th of July, man. I mean, you know how, I mean, everybody's really excited. And I mean, we had a lot of people loaded down. So obviously our biggest, you know, we're just trying to make sure everybody, you know, gets out there safe. And so, I mean, on the way out there, it was pretty calm. I think it was blowing like.
He was trying to make sure everybody got out there safe. That's ironic, right?
3 or 4 knots. I mean, the waters were clear. It was a great day to be on the water. Sunshine, not cloudy at all. And I mean, it was a great day to be out there on 4th of July. And so, I mean, we followed each other out, and I mean, it was calm. It was calm. On the way back, it was a little more rough, but it was not anything all my buddies' boats couldn't handle, or like, it wasn't like we were getting really beat up or anything. I mean, it was pretty calm.
And so you guys get out there. I'm assuming that you line the boats up, because I'm envisioning the picture of getting out there, and there's hundreds of boats. Mm-hmm. There's thousands of people. Yeah. So it wasn't just you guys on a deserted island with
of course not
a few people. This is thousands of people out there.
Right.
And there's a lot of people doing what? What does it look like when you first pull up?
I pull up, and we pulled up at 10:30. I mean, it wasn't, early afternoon. I mean, it wasn't, but 10:30 is, you know, still pretty early in the day. And when we got there was already 3 rows of boats lined up all the way, like I said, until I could see. And
you're talking, when you say all you can see, you're speaking about miles of boat. When we went out there earlier, or not earlier today, but when we went out there, the island is massive.
Correct.
I mean, it's just several miles long.
Roughly 10 to 12 miles. I mean, it's...
So you think that the boats were stretching from one end to the next, or just a small area of about a mile or less than a mile of boats?
Well, I mean, I think there was boats all the way around the entire island, but I think some spots were more popular than others. Like the West Tip is usually very, very crowded on the 4th of July, and everybody knows that. So that's where a lot of people park because they want to be around other people. And the East End's a little more, there's not as many people, but there's still a lot of boats out there. I mean, it's not like every area of Horn Island was covered 100%.
Wow. So you get out there, y'all jump out. What do you do? You know, when I say jump out, you obviously not just sitting on the boat. The island is there. Like, what exactly are people doing there? Like, are you spending more time in the water, on the island, in the boat? Like, how is that look out there?
I mean, all right, guys. I just want to give you a little, because I'm going to take you guys on a little tour after this video. We're going to look at the layout of where the ship actually went to. But anyway, he said they arrived around 10:30, right? So just so you know, the vessel left the dock approximately 9:56 a.m. This is in accordance with the GPS. That morning, it arrived at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. So he's off by about 45 minutes. So that's just keeping everybody accurate.
Everybody, as soon as you get there, I mean, there's people on boats, grabbing drinks and, food, whatever else. Everybody is fully prepared for the 4th of July. They bring, all the drinks and food that they need because, they've been preparing for 4th for a little while now. But when we got there, I helped my buddies tie the boats up because the tie line was right here, the Palm Beach was in the middle, and then the Triton was on the outer side. And there was about a drop off from where the bow was. I mean, if you jumped off the bow, you were probably about neck deep in water. But if you got off the stern, you were probably waist deep in water. But when we got there, we tied up, got, bow and rear anchor set, and we tied up all the boats, made sure they were good, and everyone just got on the water. And then eventually, next thing you know, it's our group. And then, next thing you know, there's 50 other people around us. And then it just grew and grew as the day came on. And, that's just how it was. Everybody's drinking, it's 4th of July. Everyone's just trying to enjoy themselves. And, it's a big party, basically. Big party.
Yeah. So y'all pretty much having a good time. Just like anybody would imagine, 18-year-olds, probably 20-year-olds, college students out on the island, women, you probably had alcohol. Y'all having a good time.
Yeah, of course.
And so where's Nolan in this? You guys out there, the friend groups are out there, 3 boats full of people that came out there that seem to be the closest friend group.
Right.
Where's Nolan in this in comparison to where you and others are at?
Well, I had a couple conversations with Nolan that day, and I talked to him and a couple of my other buddies. In a group, I was not focused on anyone solely, like looking and pointing anyone out, because there's so many people out there. I was talking to my friends that I haven't seen in a while from high school. I was talking from people I knew from college. I was talking to, everybody my age, and even people older than us were, over there. It was just a regular thing. We're all used to this. We've been out to the islands before. My buddies don't just go out to the island on 4th of July, but they go out, every weekend. I fish the islands. I don't just, fish around Horn Island. I fish around Ship Island too. So I'm very familiar with the islands. And I feel like it was just a big, I talked to Nolan, and, Nolan was drinking. Everybody was drinking, most of everybody. And Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him. We had just regular conversations, and, Nolan was making me laugh. I had a couple conversations with Nolan and Javon, Nolan and my buddy James, Nolan. And I could tell you, I talked to Nolan a couple times, but it wasn't like I was strictly sitting there talking to Nolan the whole day. There was hundreds of people I knew out there. So,
yeah. And Nolan said something interesting. You told me about this. Something he said to you, I would say would be indicative of y'all's friendship.
Right.
And then he also mentioned something to you about that particular day and what it meant to him.
Right.
And could you share that?
Right. Yeah. So Nolan and my buddy Javon are talking, and I grew up with Nolan, and Nolan's, just like I said, like just so joyful, like always happy. Like every picture I have with Nolan or picture I have of Nolan, he's smiling. I mean, like he's always happy. If I always need like a shed of light, I'm calling Nolan, and Nolan and I laugh and joke a lot. Like that's how our friend group is. We're really jokingly laugh. No one takes anything that serious. We enjoy our time together. I mean, there's never any awkwardness within our friend group. We're very, very tight. So if I ever need to get something off my chest or talk to anybody, I'm talking to all my friends. I'm not just talking to like specifically anybody. I would go out, like even if I'm having issues with something, I go talk to my group chat, and my guys are there to, give me a hand anytime I need it. And all my guys are, all my buddies are the same exact way. Nolan was the same exact way. If you ever need something, I'm here, man. Like that's how he was. So.
And then you guys get ready to leave prematurely.
Right.
And like, explain that, because you guys got there around 10.
Yeah.
It's now 4:30.
Right.
People are still out there partying and
Correct.
they're having a good time, but something happened to where it necessitated you guys to get the boat up and.
All right, wait a minute. Hold on, guys. Now it's 10. They didn't get there at 10. They got there at 11:14. So now the story is getting a little sketchy here. So they did not get there at 10. We have the GPS. So that's something to think about, okay? We're going to go through part 2 of this, but before we do all that, guys, just bear with me. I'm going to pull up something else for you guys. Just bear with me. We're going to get to it. All right, let's see here. All right, so I want to pull up and show you guys the mapping of what's happening. So I know it's late, and I've been traveling all day, and I'm not sleepy. I slept so much on the airplane, so tonight's going to be that night. All right, so here we go. I'm going to give you guys, let's see if I can get rid of this here. Can I get rid of that? Nope. Tropical storm Bertha's on the way. All right, let me see what you guys can see. All right, so here we have it. I'm going off of memory. I wasn't paying attention to him closely, but we're going to see. I remember the layout, so we're going to go off of that. So according to him, he came in, I believe, into Fort Bayou here. So this is Fort Bayou. You guys can see that. All right. So he said they went to a friend's, was it the grandparents' home? I wasn't paying close attention. I was working on this. Let me find this for you guys. Here we go. So they would have came in here. Let me give you the overall view. My brain tends to work that way. All right. So this is where they dock up here. You guys can see my cursor. This is Horn Island. This is the west side of Horn Island. This is the east side of Horn Island. And Nolan was found somewhere on the northern western tip right here. So Nolan is found here in this vicinity. The video I showed you guys the other day, all of this gets filled up with tents and people partying. One of the guys said that you only basically have what you bring. You probably don't have any internet service. That's probably why they didn't even, some of them wouldn't have had their cell phones on them, because you can't really use your cell phone. So anyway, I'm going to be taking this trip here myself, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so we're going to just go from, what's his name, Warren? Was it Warren? He starts off here at Old Fort, okay? He comes up through the bayou here. Well, let me see if I can find, hold on one second, guys. Let me find this place before I go do all that. I had it. And let me see here. Okay, here we go. So this is it right here. So this is the by Love CC Bridal. Okay, so he starts off here. He gets on, they come up through here with their boat. This is El Camino Real Road. That's the address that they left off of a dock. When I followed the arrow from the local news, the arrow seemed like it leads here. You see where these boats are? Somewhere in this vicinity. I don't want to dox anybody. I'm not saying it's any particular house, but one of these properties is where the dock is. Okay. So the kids all met. You heard him say they met at some dock. Okay. They have the address blacked out, right? Redacted, but they at least tell you it's on El Camino Real Road. So we know it's one of these houses. Who cares, right? So they come down through here, okay? They come down through the bayou here, okay? And they come down through here. Let's see. Actually, they come around this Fort Point, okay? And they come down under this bridge, okay? And then they come through here, and then they come down to Horn Island. So you kind of get an idea of how they traveled. So, all right, they said it's about 10 miles. That makes good sense, okay? And when we look at the actual time reference point, let me tell you what it says here. So they left at 9:56 a.m. This is the GPS from the boat. They left at 9:56 a.m. They arrived at 11:14 a.m. So that's when they arrived here. So they had quite a trek all the way down to Horn Island, okay? So he kind of tells you what happened at that point. Now, remember we started off the night with the United Cajun, Navy? And basically those guys, they gave us their timeline where someone said the boat left at 3 o'clock, but they were going off of what some of the guys were saying. But when you look at the GPS says that the boat left at 4:31 p.m. And according to the notes that I had presented to you guys the other day, because the boat was taking on water, allegedly they were towed 3 miles out. And then somehow the boat mysteriously was able to get back on and travel. Okay, so it travels back. So this is at 4:30 p.m. They start back up. Nolan is not on the boat. Now, keep in mind, he said it was, 3 boats that came down together? So we don't get a chance to hear. I would have wished, hopefully in the second video, Tatum or Tate, whatever his name is, I hope he asked how many boats were left at the end of the day, when you guys left the island. Was there still 1,000 people out here? Because then that's very, that's a good point, right? Because then he could have caught a ride with anybody. Anyway, that's a separate point. All right. So now, at 4:31, the boat left. It was towed 3 miles. Then mysteriously, it said it was able to complete its mission. They go back up here. Okay, so the boat travels back up under the bridge, okay? And it goes back through here. And it says that it goes back to its original dock. So the boat came back to this original dock. And it arrived around 5:52 p.m. Okay? Somewhere around 5 something, give or take, okay? Then it says it then traveled into Fort Bayou at 5:52, okay, before returning to the dock at 6:06. So it leaves this dock here, okay, and then it comes back down to this Fort Bayou. See, the thing about this Fort Bayou right here, this is where if you drive to the area and you eventually at the end of the day, the person who owned the boat takes the boat here. I think is at 7:19, something like that off my memory. and they basically, you see how people do it. They pull the boat, the truck up, they hitch the boat, and then they drive it to the final destination. So that's basically what happened at the end of the day. Okay. But so basically the boat came back to the dock. It came back to the dock originally. Then it came down to Fort Bayou. Okay. It arrived there. And then at 6:06 p.m., it's back at the original dock. So for some reason, some people are saying that the boat came back down to Horn Island. That's not true. But ultimately, it did make a few trips down here. So it's almost like some of these people were getting rides maybe to go home. It seemed like a perfect place to catch a Uber. Well, let's see here. Wait a minute. I want to see something. I guess you could catch a Uber from the other location too. So that doesn't make sense. Okay. So for whatever reason, they're coming down here to Old Fort Bayou. That's where they were going. And then ultimately, at 7:19, I was right. The person, whoever was the owner of the boat, they rowed the boat here and they hitched it up to a truck. And I think they said he drove. This is where the person lived in this city. I don't know. I wouldn't dare show their location, but this is the town that they lived in right here. So that's where the boat ultimately came to this little town here, Biloxi or whatever you want to call it. All right, so that just gives you a little idea of how this played out. Looks like I think the actual funeral, when I looked it up and I was going to attend it, it was right here in this vicinity somewhere too. So that just gives you a little idea of how far Horn Island was away from where they actually started. So he makes it seem as though a lot of them actually met at this house, one of these houses up here. So that would be interesting to know, what happened to Nolan. How come he didn't make it back? And also at the end of the day, how many people were actually left on Horn Island? So here you go. We have Horn Island. That just gives you an overall view. Now, keep in mind, when they put the airplane up, they were covering, the guy said they went over to this island. I mean, they were just all over the place looking for Nolan, and he was nowhere to be found all day on. Well, they put up the airplane for 2 hours on Monday morning. I think they went up around 6:30 a.m. Nolan was found here on the northern western side of the island, which is right here. This is the same place where these guys said he was last seen. And initially they said it was around 3 o'clock when the boat took off that day. But when we received the GPS says that boat left at 4:31 p.m. Okay. So Nolan is last seen here. His body washes up here. Okay. I was checking out Nancy Grace the other day, and she said that she made a statement. She says that, and the messages were deleted after his body washed ashore, but actually that wouldn't be true because let's look at the timeline. On Saturday, July the 4th, that's when his phone was secured by the family. Nolan washed ashore on Monday morning, which would have been the 6th, right? 4th, 5th, 6th. So by the time his body washed ashore, his family were the only ones that had access probably to his phone. So that can't be true, okay? Because his body washes up on Monday. I think she didn't mean to get it wrong or just got confused, but they secured his phone that night, the 4th of July. All right. I'm going to look at a few of the comments before we take off. I want to thank everybody. We're going to check out part 2 of his video tomorrow. We're also going to go through the press conferences. I think there's about two of them so far, and we're going to compare notes. Okay, let's see what everybody has to say here. Let's see. World Outreach says, who was the last person to see him? They have not said who the person was, but the United Cajun Navy said that they had one person as an eyewitness that claimed they saw Nolan around 4. So I think that's the latest that I've been able to ascertain. Blacktop says the boy wasn't, and I was not supposed to be all the way out of. Okay, I don't know what that means. Okay. Anton says, how does his body decompose that fast? Good question. Emperor says, who looked for Nolan before they left him is the question. Right, that's a very good question. Grumpy says, warm water speeds up decomposition. Okay, very good. Disturb says, I think they secured the phone on Sunday the next day. Okay. All right, we can confirm that. I heard a nighttime story, but we can see if that's accurate. All right, let's confirm that. Let's see who said that. I want to make sure we get back to this. Okay, here we go. Disturb. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., we're going to, well, we have Mama Flips on tomorrow night. So we can still do this with her, though. So tomorrow night at 8 p.m., we'll confirm, we'll pin down when that phone was actually secured by the family. Paul says, I hope it doesn't play out like the Nancy Guthrie case with no results. Okay, good point. Hopefully Nancy Guthrie case will work itself out at some point. Stanley says, does anyone know how long was his body in the water? All I can tell you is between the 4th and they discovered his body on the 6th around 8:45 a.m. So that will give you some, parameters there. Okay, let's see here. Anton says, I pray for the family gets the right. Okay. Rich people. Blacktop says one of the biggest battles of the Civil War was fought in Fort Bayou. Okay. Thank you for the history of it all. Okay. Strong says, please show me the evidence, the facts in the case to show me he was intentionally drowned. There is none. If he was, okay, I pay the perpetrator, gets the death penalty, but as of right now, nothing. Okay, a lot of people feel that way. I get it. Okay, Blacktop says Horn Island was a Confederacy stronghold. Okay, we have a lot of historians in the building. Thank you guys so much. I want to take a few more comments here. Thank you to everybody who hit the like button, shared, and subscribed. I think we've been on for almost 3 hours tonight. That's longer than what we typically do here at Watching the World. But thank you guys. Thank you to all the people that subscribe to the channel as well. That's amazing. It's Real says his mom said his Snapchat was cleared. Okay, I've heard about that too. Curtis says they will speak out the truth. God will make sure of that. Okay. All right. Okay. Now let's see. Matrix says the person in possession of his phone is the prime suspect. Okay, I can understand where you're coming from with that, but we'll have to see. Okay, some commander said it was the humidity that affected the decomposition. Okay, thank you very much for that. All right, let's see. Someone is that probably Phil. Phil, thank you very much for your super chat. Thank you for always looking out. I really do appreciate you tremendously. All right, guys. So we've had a long day. We started off with some of the first individuals that responded in regards to Nolan Wells' disappearance. And by starting there, I think it helped us to put together a lot, especially by the time we got to hear from Warren, who was one of the friends of Nolan, according to him, since grade school. So that's a long time. All right. New Jersey says, thank you, everyone, for your support. Much appreciated. Thank you very much for that. So before we end, I just want to get a final count from you guys. This is very important. I'm trying to see something here. Show me something. Show me something good, right? Based on everything that you saw tonight, especially the autopsy report, do you feel like there's anything in the report that showed Nolan Wells was murdered? Okay, put a 1. Or if you think it was just an accidental drowning, put a 2. Okay. So let's put 1 for murder, 2 for accidental drowning, 3 if you're just unsure. All right. Let's go. Put your 1s, 2s, or 3s in the chat if you don't mind before we call it a night. Okay. So far, this is very important, guys. Please be serious. We want to get a good understanding of where we are after going through 3 hours of information. Me says prayers for Nolan and the family. All right. Stanley says accidental drowning. New Jerseyan, accidental drowning. Connie, murder. Commander, not sure. Matrix, murder. Phil, not sure. 3 was not sure, right? Yeah. Okay, the storm, murder. Taco isn't sure. Curtis, murder. Elizabeth, murder. Okay, girl dad, not sure. Stanley, not sure. Migrange, murder. Anton, murder. Community stress, okay, murder. Tiggs, did the mother, who is a judge, give advice to delete social media, delete and destroy phones, and obstruct justice? Very good question. Anton says no accident. Okay. Anton says murder. Matt says 187 murder. Okay. Taco says not enough information to paint a complete picture. They need to interrogate. Very good analysis. But again, they lawyered up. I'm not sure if you're going to get an interrogation or not. It's not like the first 48 when you see those guys folding under pressure. You won't see that, all right? It's very important that we maintain some sort of accuracy or trying to follow through on information that really means something. We have so many people putting out false narratives. That's why we're just careful to try to look at the facts and see where the facts will lead you, hopefully to a place that you can understand and something that you could rest your hat on. All right. I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. It was a long show. Tomorrow night will probably be long too. But we're going to, in the near future, we're going to get through Nolan. We're going back to Nancy Guthrie because I have a lot of information. But we're going to start at the beginning and we're going to work through because there's some very intriguing. Remember, I went out to Nancy Guthrie's home. There's still one trouble. There's a couple things that trouble me about her case. I can't wait to really get into it. But one thing for sure, and I showed you guys while I was boots on the ground. First, before we move on to Nancy Guthrie really quick, I want to say rest in peace for Nolan Wells. It's a sad, sad situation. Not sure yet where or what this really means, but we're still on the case trying to figure it out. We're covering it as much as possible. And I appreciate each and every one of you, especially the people that were here all night tonight as we covered this case. Now, getting back to Nancy Guthrie, the reason why we're going to go back and cover her, number one, I put out a lot of time and energy. I went out to her home. I was standing out there for 2 weeks. A couple of things I couldn't get over that still haunts me about Nancy Guthrie. Number one, if you are aware of Nancy Guthrie, put a 1 in the chat. Let's see how many people know who Nancy Guthrie is that happen to be here tonight. Put a 2 if you don't know who she is. Let's see. 1 if you know who Nancy Guthrie is. 2 if you don't. Come on, let's see if we can get a few. Okay, Commander knows. Okay, all right. People know who Nancy Guthrie is. Keep her name alive. Okay, all right. So here's the thing that bothers me about Nancy Guthrie. Number one, I've never seen family members respond the way that this family has responded in regards to Nancy Guthrie. I can't get over the photo of them with their head down in the car. I'm not saying the family did it, but I'm saying something is strange with the family. The timing of it all, with Savannah Guthrie, she had her contract being renewed, right? That was shaky for her. She was supposed to be going out to the Olympics and all of this. The timing is kind of skewed to me, but I can't get over. Like, for instance, we were out there covering for the mother, and you guys want people to go away? Why would you listen? I don't see Nolan. I don't see anybody pretty much telling folks, don't cover my missing child. Don't cover my missing mother. And I can't, every time I try to understand this case, I can't get past that whole idea. Even now, recently, I think Alex was out there and one of the daughters called the police. Apparently, I guess they were in tune with YouTube to know that Alex was out there. But for them to say, oh, I'm so afraid of guys that you get to watch them through their camera all day long, they're just out there trying to appease their followers and show, like no different than what I did when I was there. But that's troubling to me. Why wouldn't you hear, like if it's your mother-in-law, wouldn't you say something, right? As a man, forget what the media say, right? You're a man. Wouldn't you say, hey, I want you to go out here and find my mother-in-law? Like, how could you just be quiet? That's what I don't get, right? People that are quiet under those type of circumstances are the people involved. I'm not saying they did something, but I'm saying it just seems like, number one, right? I'm going to tell you guys something about this case. Remember this day. I've always told you it's a woman that mastermind Nancy Guthrie. It's not a man. A man is not that, shouldn't say that, right? Men are typically not that, got to be careful what I'm saying. It's late. I'm tired. I might say something I regret tomorrow. Men are typically not that, we'll say smart, okay? But I said that from the beginning. There's a woman that's behind this whole Nancy Guthrie. Somebody sat and wrote this whole story. This is not some guy showing up and he takes her and he pulls off the perfect. No, somebody wrote the whole story. The guy that shows up at the door, I think he's a fake. I think he's just there. He's just another part of the story. He's not a key ingredient. He may not have even known what he was really doing. That's why a lot of people are saying, if you listen to him, they say, oh, the guy seems like he's slow or something, right? But then after that, if you notice, people are starting to say a woman wrote these letters. See, that's something I told you guys when I was in front of the house. The other thing I told you is that I don't think Nancy Guthrie went more than a mile or two. And I felt like she went to a local house. Just my feeling. Now, check this out, right? I said that when I was there. But if you notice, right, check this out. The blood doesn't lead to the driveway. The blood leads halfway down the sidewalk until around the house. Go back and look at the blood trail. We're going to cover it. The blood does not lead to a car in front of the house. The blood leads into this section would be a great staging area. There's no car. They don't have a record of a car because I don't think a car was used, right? Since when can the feds not track a car? That's about the dumbest thing I've heard in my life. There is no car. So the lady did not make it out that neighborhood. That's just my opinion. But anyway, let me get to my main point, right? I don't know anything more than anybody else, but I will tell you this, right? This is the part that to me will solve the case. There's a camera. I showed you guys. You see the front of her house, and then she has a guest house to the side. There's a camera right there showing you everybody that goes into that side garage and also that would come around and go to her guest home. I showed you the camera. They don't have any recording of the son-in-law dropping this woman off. You mean to tell me that camera wasn't working either? Right? Can we at least prove, can somebody show that the son-in-law dropped the woman off at what, 9:48, right? Why can't we so you went back, you got a still photo, which I don't think came from I think you have more information. You found a perfect video of a guy walking up on her front stoop. But you don't have the video of the son-in-law dropping this lady off? You got to be kidding me. That's the part that you have to really figure out for this case. And if that camera is off, then that means that somebody is deleting video. Somebody control these cameras. You cannot tell me anything different. Like, okay, somebody would have to be extremely lucky. Can you be that lucky that she didn't pay her subscription, but she had all these cameras? You know, old folks don't typically allow things like that. I mean, it could happen, right? But typically, usually elderly people will be on top of that stuff, I would imagine. The other thing is she didn't take her medicine the night before at 10 o'clock. So she came in, she vanishes at 2 o'clock in the morning, but she didn't take her medicine at 10 p.m. These are the simple things that people are just not paying attention to. But anyway, we're going to go back to the case and we're going to try to help figure this thing out. But we're going to go back to the first night and we're going to work our way just straight up through the case. So we'll just cover, just like we did tonight with Nolan. We're going to start with the sheriff. What's his name? I know him by what people call him. No name, no Nas. I forget his name now. We're going to go back to the first night that he's standing out in front of her home. And again, I don't think the lady was put in a car, and I don't think she left the neighborhood. When I was there, I saw maybe 3 or 4 houses under construction. Some of them had an outhouse. And I try to communicate this, but they don't want to listen to YouTubers. I'm like, did anybody check the outhouses? Because, you know, you got the poop section, you know what I mean? Just all these things going on. And, you know, and then you had the whole thing about the mainstream media not liking the YouTubers. That was a nightmare. You know, all this stuff turns out to be a nightmare sometime, but we're here for it. Yeah, that's right. Nanos. Thank you very much. Stella. Stella is always on top of it. But anyway, here's the point of the matter, right? At the end of the day, I don't care who it is or where you're from. When people have a loved one missing, they want everybody to go to the mountaintop and scream, "Where's my mother?" And if you want to go out there and volunteer and stand on the rooftop of their home and stomp all night, they're going to rest good because they're going to say, "You're trying to find my mother." People don't normally, naturally say, "Stop looking for my mother." Like, come on now. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We're going to get to Nancy Guthrie. It's good to be back in the studio. That's Nancy Guthrie. I had to step away from it. But we're going to look at it, and we're going to look at it much different than most people. And I look forward to going through this case with you and many more. Thank you. Thanks to all the moderators. You guys are so amazing. All right. Yeah, listen, don't get me started about these people say we don't want anybody looking for our mother. Clear the neighborhood. Get out in front of her house. The lady's missing. That don't make sense, right? How can you get past that? Your mother is missing, and you're telling people we don't want anybody in front of the house. Now, forget about now. I get it now. The neighbors are agitated, right? But even back then, we want people out of here. What do you know that we don't? You know? We got guys out here, YouTubers, that are staying out there late at night in the darkness looking for your mother. And you call the police on guys that are working for free? You know, like what does that mean, right? Or when the media is taking pictures, you put your head down. You're not the criminal, so why would you put your head down? Unless there's something we don't know. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good night.
Different voices, but the same song. Building a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.